agency permitting system for mobile food establishments. Currently, we must obtain permits from each and every community we are asked to do business in, both from the fire departments and health departments. As such, I believe we are more heavily regulated than brick and mortar locations which serve food. They may be inspected once or twice a year by a fire department or health department, barring any specific complaint. Yet in just the past 4 months, I have been personally inspected 9 times by 5 health departments, 6 times by 5 fire departments, and have another 5 fire and health department inspections pending in the coming months. We trust these agencies to permit restaurants, and anyone from another community or state or country can eat there without any additional permitting requirements. If these same health and fire departments can be trusted with that, why can't they be trusted to inspect a mobile food establishment once, who is then able to operate anywhere in Massachusetts? These agencies are by far staffed by very nice folks, but the requirements set forth by their respective communities varies, and it is cumbersome and difficult to keep up. Many health inspectors have privately said such a law would benefit them too. Just an example of the inconsistency. I was contacted by a civic service organization in Worcester County asking for food trucks at their event. They prefaced their request to me with these words, quote, "Many food trucks are weary of coming to the event, mostly because the Board of Health has old, antiquated processes and is frustrating for many food truck vendors," end quote. Having a law where mobile food establishments can be permitted and inspected by our home-based agencies, which will be accepted statewide, makes sense. The state sanitary code and fire code is supposed to be uniform, yet it is subject to local interpretation with additional requirements other towns never require, which business owners are left to adjust for. The one takeaway from the current permitting and inspection process, it is consistently inconsistent. Please help small food truck businesses be treated equally like other businesses are. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much. And see, we're joined by Representatives Reed and Representative Arriga as well today. Next, Ryan Margulis, try you again on virtual for S1605.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for. Sorry about that. I was having troubles. I'm here now. So this is what I have to say. Good morning, everybody. I want to share with you what it's really like to run a food truck under the current health inspection system. Over the last 5 years, I spent more than $17,000 on health permits. That includes hundreds of temporary single-day permits and annual permits. Each permit application takes 15 to 30 minutes to fill out. Some towns will require printing envelopes, checks, stamps, and going to the post office. So this wastefulness runs even longer. When you add in credit card fees on many of these other transactions, the cost isn't just financial, it is time. Because roughly 80% of towns require us to show up in person before the event, on average, that's 3 extra hours per inspection per town. Time I could be spent growing on my business, training staff, or serving customers.
Thank
Instead,
you.
I am driving my truck to an empty parking lot for yet another redundant.
I don't know why I did that.
When you'd add it all up,
I closed my
there's
laptop.
472 hours on health permits in the last 5
Okay. I
years.
thought I did
That's
something.
about 59 full work days. Almost 3 months of my life just pushing paperwork and driving to inspections. And the kicker, these inspections and applications aren't standardized. One town asks for documents I've never seen before. Another invents a new form each year. Even the inspections themselves vary widely, sometimes performed by people doing their very first truck inspection with no oversight on my livelihood. So imagine this, in a single week I can be inspected 4 different times by 4 different towns, each with different requirements, each with a new cost, and each with a demand on my time. None of those inspections make your food safer than the last. What they do is make it harder for small businesses like mine to thrive. Food trucks are built on hustle, creativity, and community. But when we're being buried in a system that is fragmented, inefficient, and wasteful, what we need is standardization. One set of rules, one permit process, and one inspection that counts across communities. Because if we can cut the red tape, we can spend less time chasing forms and more time doing what we do best, serving our communities. That's all I got.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, on Bill S-922, an act relative to the Bean New Deal. Alex Cerusi.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning, Chairs Decker and Driscoll and honorable members of the committee. Thank you for considering S-922, an act relevant to the Bean New Deal. This is legislation to increase access to healthy plant-based food options across public institutions in Massachusetts. My name is Alex Cerusi, and I'm the Senior State Policy Manager for Mercy for Animals. We're an organization dedicated to building a more just and sustainable food system for all. Plant-based food consumption can reduce the likelihood of many diet-related diseases, and as such, ensuring access to plant-based foods means investing in the health and longevity of residents and employees throughout the state. According to the American Medical Association and American College of Cardiology, plant-based foods can help prevent many chronic health problems, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension. In addition to dramatically reducing diabetes risk, diets higher in plant-based foods, rich in fiber, and other key nutrients can help fight kidney disease. By expanding access to plant-based foods, this bill would also create a more inclusive environment for food preferences and dietary restrictions. Offering more plant-based food options could better accommodate a variety of diets chosen for moral, health, or religious reasons. Public institutions in Massachusetts, particularly universities like UMass Amherst, have increasingly adopted plant-based food options in recent years. And several hospitals in Massachusetts have adopted a food as medicine approach by expanding plant-based menu items and food pantry programs. Senate Bill 922 would provide an important boost and natural progression for existing programs. Massachusetts can demonstrate its commitment to public health, sustainability, and inclusivity by supporting the Bean New Deal. As such, I respectfully urge this committee to move S-922 forward favorably. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Prayal Patel. Welcome.
Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, members of the committee, thank you so much for the opportunity to testify today. Can you hear me? Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Prayal Patel. I serve as the Massachusetts State Director for Humane World for Animals. We work with schools, universities, and food service providers to expand access to nutrition and inclusive plant-based meals. I am here in strong support of S-922, an act relative to the Bean New Deal. This bill ensures that plant-based protein options are available in state institutions, senior nutrition programs, WIC, and public higher education dining. It also strengthens culinary and health education and updates the state's health curriculum to reflect modern nutrition science. The health benefits of plant-forward eating are well established. Diets centered on legumes, whole grains, fruits, and vegetables are consistently linked to lower rates of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. These foods are also rich in fiber and essential nutrients that many Americans underconsume, making them a powerful tool for improving public health. And importantly, beans and other plant-based proteins are among the most affordable sources of nutrition. This bill also complements the recent recommendations of the Commission on School Nutrition Standards. That report calls for serving legumes more frequently, offering clearly labeled plant-based options, and supporting schools with training and resources. S-922 makes those recommendations actionable through DESE-led trainings, grant incentives, and updates to education programs that prepare the next generation of food service leaders. Equity is central here as well. Many Massachusetts residents, particularly people of color who are disproportionately lactose intolerant, as well as those with health-related or religious dietary needs, rely on plant-based options to ensure they have something they can eat. By requiring at least one plant-based meal plant-based protein option to be offered at every meal in covered institutions and programs. This bill ensures inclusion without removing options for others. Finally, there's a strong cost case here. Research shows plant-based meals can be up to 30% cheaper to produce than meat-based ones, generating meaningful savings for schools, senior nutrition programs, and state-run facilities. S922 is thoughtful, forward-looking policy, expands food choice, reduces costs, and advances health, climate, and equity goals, all without dictating what anyone must eat. I respectfully urge the committee to report S922 out favorably. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions, committee? Thank you. I see Representative Sicolo has joined us as well at the hearing. Next, I have Kelsey Kelter. Kelsey? No. Onyx Rothman? Onyx Rothman? No. Virtual Xavier Toledo? Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. So my name is Xavier, and I am a registered dietitian. And on behalf of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, I'm providing testimony in support of S922, or the act relative to the Bean New Deal. And just for some background, I am a Massachusetts native, and I completed my degrees and training at Boston University. So as we've heard, the Bean New Deal promotes access to and education about plant-based proteins across Massachusetts in support of public health, sustainability, and food equity. The bill ensures that public agencies and public health institutions offer a plant-based protein at each meal, in addition to increasing access to plant-based protein in public food programs, such as WIC and the Senior Nutrition Program. Plant-based proteins like beans, peas, and lentils are rich in essential nutrients, including fiber, which many Americans are unfortunately deficient in. And they're also low in saturated fat and devoid of cholesterol, unlike the animal products that they often replace. Diets centered around plant-based proteins have been shown to lower risks of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even certain cancers. Additionally, nutrition research and guidance increasingly emphasizes plant-based proteins, so this bill would bring state policy in line with the latest science and public health recommendations. And with the Bean New Deal, families would be able to incorporate health-promoting foods like peas and beans and lentils into their diets more easily. And for communities disproportionately affected by diet-related diseases, the Bean New Deal is a very important step toward greater health equity. The legislation not only supports individual health, but also public health outcomes by promoting options that reduce long-term health burdens and improve the quality of life for many Massachusetts residents. So to support Nutrition Massachusetts, the Physicians Committee recommends the passing of this legislation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Thank you very much. Next, Bill S1524 and H2479, an act relative to the Massachusetts lead law and promoting lead law and promoting equal access to lead-free housing. I have here Christina Da Fonseca. Christina?
Hello, my name is Christina Da Fonseca. I serve as Executive Director of South Coast Fair Housing, based in New Bedford and primarily serving 5 counties south of Boston. I'm here to testify in support of these bills. Massachusetts has long led in public health, yet we're failing in protecting children from lead poisoning. The current law requires landlords to mitigate lead in homes built before 1978, only when a child under 6 resides there. In practice, this has led to discrimination. Landlords often avoid renting to families with young children due to the cost or liability associated with lead remediation. My office regularly hears from families unable to access housing due to a lack of lead certificates. Some are discouraged from applying when advertisements state that units are not lead safe. Families are too often forced to choose between homelessness and housing with lead hazards. An intake came into our office just this week involving a family eligible for the home-based program who can't find a lead-safe unit for which they could use their home-based assistance, risking their child's health to stay housed and not being able to access the home-based benefits this legislature has made available to them in need of emergency housing assistance. Enforcement of the lead law too often relies on a child already being poisoned before any action is taken, and in a tight housing market, retaliation protections are really don't encourage, do nothing to encourage families to report lead hazards in their homes, right? Families often are choosing between reporting a lead hazard or not, just so that they can stay in their home in this tight housing market. If the cost of compliance with an expanded lead law is the main concern, I think that itself shows that the law currently isn't working. If it were working, most homes built before 1978 would already be lead safe, but they're not. These two bills offer key improvements. One, it would deter landlords from bringing retaliatory or parental fault claims against families whose children are poisoned. And it would also expand lead safety requirements to all rental units, not just those with young children, really removing the incentive to make these market decisions where families are excluded from housing options. I want to highlight an example from our neighboring state in Rhode Island. Rhode Island recently adopted a new law which includes the requirement that all landlords would comply with lead laws before evicting a household for non-payment of rent. This has boosted compliance with the lead law, driven demand for lead hazard mitigation work, and motivated more professionals to become certified to do this work. I encourage Massachusetts you all to consider this bill and move it from committee. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next, Maureen St. Cyr. Maureen, virtual.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. I apologize for the shadow. The sun is coming in from the background. My name is Maureen St. Cyr. I'm the executive director of the Massachusetts Fair Housing Center, which, like the South Coast Fair Housing Center, is an organization that assists folks experiencing housing discrimination with the goal of eliminating housing discrimination and increasing opportunity for all in housing. And we serve central and western Massachusetts. Massachusetts lead law, which was adopted more than 50 years ago, sought to make our housing stock lead-free over time by requiring that housing providers engage in lead abatement when a family with a child under the age of 6 resides in the property. But in the 54 years since its passage, less than 10% of our pre-1978 housing has been inspected and certified free from lead hazards. Massachusetts has the 4th oldest housing stock in the country, so our pre-1978 housing is a significant proportion of our housing overall. At this rate, it will be, in another 50 years, we still won't have de-leaded half of that housing stock. At the same time, as my colleague from South Coast Fair Housing mentioned, this framework has the unintended consequence of incentivizing landlords to engage in housing discrimination against families with children. It's created a dual housing market where only a small subsection of our housing market is actually available to families with children. At Mass Fair Housing Center, we hear from families with children routinely who are trying to move but cannot because they can't find a landlord who will agree to rent to them. This is even though the law already prohibits housing discrimination against families with young children. Landlords still do it every day because it is cheaper to discriminate than to follow the law. We hear from families across the income spectrum. We hear from higher income brackets as well as lower income brackets, but make no mistake, this issue disproportionately impacts low income families, and it is a cruel barrier to long-term housing stability and financial resiliency. Many of the families that we hear from are families with housing vouchers who risk losing their voucher because they cannot find a de-leaded apartment, or families seeking to leave the state's emergency assistance shelter program, but stuck because of the limited housing options that will take families with young children. And this is not just an issue of economic justice and health equity, but one of racial justice as well. Historically redlined and disinvested communities are often those with the highest rates of lead poisoning risk, even today, and children of color are at greater risk of lead poisoning than their white peers. This bill's requirement of phased-in de-leading in housing would put Massachusetts on a path to universal abatement. Rather than hoping that a system that has not made significant progress towards it will suddenly start to do so, this bill would provide tangible, effective, and equitable steps towards creating a lead-free Massachusetts. And I respectfully request that the committee report out favorably this bill. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Yes, Representative.
Just wanted to quickly ask, are you guys familiar with the Healthy Homes?
The Healthy Homes Initiative?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and we are involved in that. The problem is ultimately, it's still we still aren't able to move as quickly as possible towards a system that allows for equitable access to housing. And so that's one piece of a puzzle, but we think that this bill would move us much more quickly towards a sustainable system for families with children to have access to housing that is really necessary in the middle of a housing crisis.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. I co-sponsor the Healthy Homes with Rep. Cruz. We are working on that funding. We'll love to have this conversation offline to work on it.
Absolutely.
Lead is, of course, dangerous, but let's please talk offline and continue this conversation.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. I'd like to invite to testify Senator Jalen, and also recognize Representative Kane, who's joined us at the hearing today as well. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Chairs Driscoll and Decker, and members of the committee. I'm here in support of Senate 1548 and House 2369, an act to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution. Christine Barber and I filed this, and I will just not reiterate testimony that I might have given in the past because Senator Driscoll may not have heard it, but
I'm new
it's
here.
a bill that addresses an issue that involves both public health, poverty, and the environment. And so I'll tell you what it does, but I'll just first tell you that in my district, there is a housing project which is right across a small, it's right next to 8 lines of traffic, and the pollution that causes they have a very high rate of heart disease, stroke, asthma, and autism. And I actually know a man who never smoked, lived across the street from those highways, and died of lung cancer at an early age. So that makes it very important to me and to others. So it would call for a technical advisory committee to include voices from experts, environmental justice populations, and guide the goals of seeking air quality and designate high pollution hotspots. And when those hotspots are found, DEP will set up monitoring and establish a baseline level of air pollution, looking at fine particulates particularly and other pollutants. And from that baseline, DEP will be directed to implement policies to see the air pollution in those areas reduced by 75% by the end of 2035. So I hope you will again report these bills favorably and that we will act on them this year. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Staying on this bill, Dr. Shalini Shah on virtual. Dr. Shah. Welcome.
Chair Decker, Chair Driscoll, and members of the Public Health Committee. Good morning. My name is Dr. Shalini Shah. I'm an environmental pediatrician at Boston Children's Hospital, serving as the Assistant Director of our Pediatric Environmental Health Center, where we work to protect children from environmental hazards threatening their health and development. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of an act to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution. Children are uniquely vulnerable to air pollution. With developing lungs and immune systems, they breathe more air relative to their body weight than adults. Air pollution undermines both their health and opportunity to grow and learn through missed school days, reduced play, and long-term impacts on development. Exposure to air pollutants can cause lower birth weight, increased asthma, stunt lung development, and even cause premature death. I invite you to consider my patient Maya, a very sweet 9-year-old girl from Chelsea. She's been to the emergency room 3 times this year for asthma attacks. When wildfire smoke drifts into the city, the air becomes dangerous to breathe. Her school, next to a busy roadway, exposes her to traffic exhaust every day. And during heat waves, increased ozone and particulate matter trigger her symptoms and make playing soccer at recess unsafe. For Maya, the outdoor environment, shaped by these factors, too often dictates whether she spends her day in school or in the hospital. And Maya is not alone. Children in low income and communities of color face the greatest burden. Black and Latino children in Boston are hospitalized for asthma at 4 to 6 times the rate of white children. And in Massachusetts, they breathe up to 34% more vehicle pollution than white children. These are not coincidences, but rather the result of longstanding environmental injustices driving thousands of hospital visits and millions of dollars in healthcare costs. As climate change worsens, wildfires rage, and federal funding for these state-level efforts evaporate, these challenges will unfortunately only grow. And although policy decisions may have created these health harms, data-driven policy can fix them. Right now, the Commonwealth has less than 25 fixed air quality monitors for 351 towns and cities, which is largely inadequate. And even where monitors exist, not all key pollutants are tracked. So this bill will change that. It will allow us to identify hotspots, target resources, and protect children in the neighborhoods that need it most. We must act now to ensure every child in the state has a chance to grow up breathing clean, healthy air. From the C-suites to the grassroots, from the streets of EC to the halls of Harvard, we believe clean air should be a right for all, not a privilege for the few. Thank you for your time and support.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much. I see Senator Lovely is virtual. Senator Lovely.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes, I am here, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and to Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify quickly on a bill before your committee. Senate number 2579, House number 4298, an act on toxic-free medical devices, which I have filed alongside our colleague, Representative Jim Day. So diethylxyl phthalate, or DEHP, is used as a plasticizer in many products, including medical devices, particularly in IV bags and tubing. In a 2017 study published by the National Library of Medicine, the overuse of DEHP has caused it to enter and pollute the environment through the release from industrial settings and plastic waste disposal sites. DEHP can enter the body through inhalation, ingestion, and dermal contact, which has raised concerns about its safety and its effects on human health. It is a known carcinogen. The EPA named it as a carcinogen back in 2008 when it banned it in kids' toys, and Kaiser Permanente banned it in their IV bags in 2012. What this bill is looking to do is to ban the use of DEHP in medical devices, particularly IV bags and tubing in Massachusetts. And the bill would allow companies that are selling these products in Massachusetts to ban them by 2030 in the IV bags and in the tubing starting in 2035. It also would disallow persons or entities from replacing DEHP with other orthophthalates in new or revised medical devices. It is a known carcinogen. It is in our IV bags and tubing, and I ask for the committee's positive recommendation on what we believe is a very critical bill brought to my attention this session The very people that may be receiving chemotherapy in IV bags has a known carcinogen in those IV bags. There are some hospitals that have banned them, and I can get that list to you. Again, thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I have panel Emma Weiss and Emmanuel DeBarros. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, and members of the committee. My name is Emma Weiss, and on behalf of Clean Water Action and our 2,400 members across the Commonwealth, and as an allied member of the Massachusetts Environmental Justice Table, I am asking you to report House 2369, Senate 1548, an act to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution out of committee. I want to address the fact that while Massachusetts residents appear to be able to monitor the ambient air quality in our state through our 20 already existing air monitors, 13 of those monitors are not located near pollution hotspots like busy roadways or infrastructure sites. The location of air monitors is crucial because ultrafine particulate matter stays in the vicinity of the polluting source. This bill would place strategic monitors to capture data on levels of pollution specifically in those areas. It's no secret to all of us here that funding, specifically at the federal level, for pollution reduction is very limited. The Technical Advisory Committee established by this bill would help us spend the funds we do have effectively by monitoring the full range of pollutants, including those ultrafine particulate matter, in our most polluted areas. Access to this data would help us ensure that we are combating air pollution where it matters most and would improve transparency between the state and residents. I had the unique privilege of organizing a community engagement and education event centered around these bills and around clean air access. I was able to witness how important this issue is to our communities and how eager folks are to come together to share resources and proactive strategies. At our event, we learned how to build our own temporary air filters and where to access asthma healthcare in emergencies. But folks should not have to resort to do-it-yourself projects to keep themselves safe, and access to clean air should not be an individual responsibility. We believe that the state can protect people from air pollution by passing House 2369, Senate 1548, and that starts with a favorable report from this committee. So thank you for your continued dedication to improving public health in our Commonwealth and for listening to our testimony today. I will pass it to you, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Emmanuel DeBarros from ACE. I'm Director of Development and Community Engagement, and we've been an environmental and transit-oriented nonprofit in Roxbury. And I also live in Charlestown, mostly down the street. I'm just here to testify on the same bill, and we're here with ACE and in solidarity with the EJ table. For myself, I have asthma, and growing up in Boston, I grew up in Roxbury and Dorchester. I've seen folks who are mostly same folks going in school, missing school, due to their asthma being either hospitalized or either have to stay home if they had a nebulizer or not. During that time, I believe the asthma program was pretty strong for folks at home and for school support. As of to now, I know folks, and even my brother was missing school during this time, and I know during this time in September it's very hard for folks with asthma as the weather do change up on us, and it triggers us dramatically during the hard season as that change. With this, mostly ACE did a project, mostly studying PM levels from PM10 to PM1. I believe I mentioned this last time and mentioned these data that we did. Mostly, since we're in Nubian, in Roxbury, we did a project mostly just based in Roxbury. The outdoor sensors were mostly monitored by Owen College and partnered with some partners that we had in Roxbury. For this study, we was able to study Nubian Square, one of the big hubs in Roxbury, one of the big bus depot. We see that the big contaminant was diesel due to the buses, as we need to make sure we do have electrification with some of the buses that's out there. With that, we know that we have a lot of school in Roxbury, so we did a study near the Haley school. And we see that mostly during school hours of when the buses are entering school, when it's arrival and dismissal time, these are the time when it peaks during that time of day. As we know that in Roxbury, we do have the a lot of transportation congestion here. So as a comparison to Roxbury and Brookline, mostly, we are mostly contaminated higher with the PM10 levels here in Roxbury than Brookline. And you can see how many communities in comparison are burdened due to transportation, but also housing emissions in the area. With that, I would just say mostly favor this out of committee if you could. And just with this, with the World Health Study guidelines, our oxide iodine levels are higher than the average. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much. I see Representative LaBeouf. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker. Thank you so much for taking me out of turn. I'm here to express my support for H 2479, an act relative to the Massachusetts lead law and promoting equal access to lead-free housing, which I filed jointly with Rep. Vanna Howard. The bill addresses a problem that has persisted for more than 50 years. The original Massachusetts lead law was meant to protect children by requiring landlords to de-lead before a child under 6 moved into a home. And unfortunately, what it did was instead create a loophole. And that loophole has fueled widespread housing discrimination against families with young children, as landlords often refuse to rent to them rather than comply with abatement requirements. H 2479 closes that loophole. It creates a phased-in, non-discriminatory policy requiring all landlords to remove lead paint, regardless of whether or not a young child lives there. It also ensures that implementation starts in the communities hit hardest by lead poisoning, as determined by numbers from the Department of Public Health. This is an urgent need. Reports from DPH in both 2019 and 2023 found that less than 10% of pre-1978 housing in Massachusetts has been de-leaded. Meanwhile, children of color, low-income children, and children in our urban centers continue to suffer disproportionately from higher rates of lead poisoning. These inequities are already documented in a 1980s legislative commission, and decades later, they still persist. The current system has fallen short both in protecting children from lead and ensuring equal access to housing. This is a civil rights issue as much as it is a public health issue. Families who are denied housing may not even realize they are victims of discrimination, and when they do, they are often reluctant to take legal action. And in regards to cost, it is significantly less costly to de-lead an existing unit of housing than it is to start new construction. By closing this loophole, we can both increase access to safe, affordable housing and finally take meaningful steps to end childhood lead poisoning in Massachusetts. The benefits will ripple across generations, improving health, reducing inequities, and giving families more opportunity to thrive. And for these reasons, I respectfully request that the committee consider H 2479, issue a favor report, and I look forward to working with the members and answering any questions. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Next, I'd welcome Representative O'Day to testify. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members, for taking me out of order. I appreciate it. I'm here today to testify on House 4298, an act relative to toxic-free medical devices. What's that mean? No, seriously.
Dude, you know, if we would have waited to go live, then it would have been like right away.
As many of us are also painfully aware of the disease of cancer and all of those who have to deal with that disease. And to find out that the medical bags, that IVs and, you know, the IVs and chemotherapy and all those different types of treatments that our loved ones go to the hospital to receive infusions, that the actual bags, the plastic bags, have a cancer-causing chemical contained within the bags. When I heard that, I freaked out. I said, that's not possible, but it is possible. So really what this particular piece of legislation is attempting and aiming to do is to make sure, and obviously we couldn't get this turned around in a day or a week. So there's some timelines here on the event, in the event that, you know, hospitals will possibly balk a little bit at, you know, having to make these changes. So the good news is that there are bags out there that do not contain the nasty chemicals. But there are still those that are out there that are in use. It's known that the bags have the chemicals in them, and they're still being used. So this bill, in essence, is looking to completely do away with the bags that have the DEHP in it by 2035. So again, we're not saying to medical facilities, you have to change this tomorrow. Sooner you can change it, obviously, the better. But, you know, to try to make sure that we can properly treat those trying to fight cancer and to stop treating them with the opportunity of what they're being treated by also has cancer-causing agents. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple, I think, and I hope that the committee will see its way to vote favorably on this bill, and continuing to keep in mind that we are in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and we are known to be leaders in the world of medicine, and I hope that we can do the right thing here and move this along quickly. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Next, I have a panel of Monica Elias Aureliana, Barbara Espinosa Barrera, and Marcus Queen. Welcome.
Thank you, chairs and members, for letting us testify today. My name is Monica Elias Soriana. I work with Green Roots. I'm the Director of Health, Equity, and Mobility, as well as a long-life resident of Chelsea. Both Chelsea and East Boston are environmental communities bordered by highways, industrial facilities, and the Logan Airport. Our neighborhoods are overturned by diesel truck traffic, marine terminals, and other pollution sources that most communities would never allow near their homes, schools, and parks. Through our work at Green Roots, in collaboration with the Northeastern University, we've installed Quanticume monitors network to track pollution in real time. Even though we do not have a full year of data, we are able to start to understand the air quality in our neighborhoods. It directly ties to what residents have felt for years: high rates of asthma, heart disease, and other serious health issues. This is why we are here to support House Bill.
Sorry, Misty.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I didn't realize I did that.
Bills that would finally bring meaningful protections to our communities like ours. This bill creates an air quality advisory committee with real community representation, identifies pollution hotspots, installs air monitors in those locations, and sets enforcement targets to reduce pollution, and ensures state accountability through legal mechanisms. Our communities are not asking for special treatment. We're asking for the right to breathe clean air. I respectfully urge you to give this bill a favorable report out of committee. Thank you.
My name is Barbara Espinosa. I'm a Chelsea resident and a staff member at Green Roots.
Over the past 2 years, I have had the privilege to be Greenroot's liaison to the iSuper project. And when I call it a privilege, I mean it. With iSuper, we have established a network of more than 80 sensors around Chelsea, with a similar number in Brookline, that collect air quality data every few minutes. This project has also developed a website where residents can access live air quality data from the many sensors installed. Residents use this website often, especially on bad air quality days, to inform their lives, to inform their health choices. Having access to this kind of information is an absolute privilege, but it shouldn't be. Chelsea and Brookline should not be alone in providing residents with accurate and timely air quality information. This type of health information should not be a privilege that only some communities get. Every environmental justice community should have access to this information. It shouldn't be a privilege, but it is. And soon, it will be a privilege that we can no longer afford. The iSuper project, like many air quality projects, was funded with federal dollars. And with recent changes in funding, projects have been forced to shut down, downsize, and lay off individuals. This has substantially reduced their capacity to collect data, and more importantly, to translate that data into policy and to share it with the community. I ask for your support and funding to continue doing this work. I ask for your support to ensure that the air people breathe in Massachusetts is healthy. And I ask for your support so that air quality information stops being a privilege. This bill can help us get there. I ask you to favorably report this bill out of committee. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marcus Queen, and I live in Chelsea. I have lived in Chelsea for 10 years, and I am here to talk about trees. I am a tree ambassador in Chelsea with the Mystic River Water Association. This means that I go from house to house offering people free trees for their yards. Most of the time, people are interested. Why wouldn't they be? The trees are a beautiful addition to any yard. They provide shade and they help clean the air. But unfortunately, even if most people are interested, not everyone can get a free tree in their yard. Some people don't have a yard. Some people's yards are not big enough, and some people are tenants who have to check with their landlords and advocate for a tree. The bill we are here to discuss does not say anything about trees, so why am I telling you this? Because I need this committee to be aware that we are fighting for clean air with you on many different fronts. Some of us come to the State House and share our experiences. Some of us sit behind a computer and analyze data. Some of us go from house to house offering free trees. All of us are fighting for the same goal, and I am sure that if we all put in the work, we can ensure that everyone breathes clean air. I ask you to report favorably on Bill H 2369 so that we can continue to fight for clean air, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next, Tennille Riney, virtually. Daniel Zakin. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chair, and Chair Decker as well, and the members of the committee. I appreciate this opportunity to testify today in support of H 2369 S 1548, the Outdoor Air Quality Bill. You've already heard excellent testimony from our environmental justice allies from ACE and Green Roots, and I believe you might hear later today from those in Springfield as well. So I'll keep this brief. I have 3 points I want to share with this committee. I'm here representing 350 Mass and the Mass Power Forward Coalition. 350 Mass is a network of hundreds of activists across the state who are firmly in support of the goals of our environmental justice allies. Mass Power Forward is a further 200 organizations, including faith leaders, community green groups, and of course, more climate activists who care deeply about environmental justice, climate justice, and good air quality. The 8 pollution monitoring hotspots that this bill would create will do a huge amount to make sure that as our air quality gets worse with the changing climate, we're able to take care of the most vulnerable communities in our state that already have extreme impacts like asthma and other health issues that come from breathing toxic air. As we engage in a transition away from gas, especially with home appliances, monitoring is also important to make sure that communities are not left behind. That is absolutely crucial. We cannot have a green transition for the wealthy and further poisonous gas for everyone else. The last point I want to make is that we're now in a place where we're getting annual orange sky days as we have wildfire smoke drift over from Canada. I know I felt it biking around Boston this summer. I'm sure everyone saw the sun turn orange last summer as wildfire smoke literally blocked out the sky. And when that happens, the impact is significantly greater upon environmental justice communities that have pre-existing conditions. And further monitoring will go a long way to make sure that those communities have the care they need, that they're not left behind when we transition, and that they are taken care of by the Commonwealth to have the right to breathe clean air. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chair.
Diane Ferrer-Savard, virtually. Diane? No. Paulina Muratori, virtually.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Chair Decker, Chair Driscoll, and the honorable members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Paulina Muratori, and I'm here on behalf of Conservation Law Foundation to testify in support of H 2369 S 1548, an act to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution. CLF is a member of the Massachusetts Environmental Justice Table, which, as you've already heard, is supporting this bill as a priority for this session, as we have in prior sessions. You've already heard quite a bit on this bill, so I'll try to keep my remarks short and expand on them in writing. Previous iterations of this bill were broad in scope and aimed to address both indoor and outdoor air quality issues, both of which are complex and challenging to regulate. For this reason, this bill was split into two, one pertaining to indoor air pollution, S 1546, which thank you for favorably passing out of committee already, and the other pertaining to outdoor air pollution, the bill I'm speaking on now. We believe that the bill in its current form is, which was shaped directly in response to feedback from this committee, is an excellent step forward to ensure that the Commonwealth begins to overcome the persistent injustice of outdoor air pollution. This bill tackles air pollution in a comprehensive way and addresses key requests that environmental justice, or EJ, communities have long asked for. We do applaud Massachusetts for expanding air quality monitoring in many ways across the state. However, unlike fine particulate matter, which spreads out over large geographical areas, what we're really focused on here is ultrafine particulate matter, which is more health damaging and stays in the immediate vicinity of polluting sources. You'll hear more on the specific research on this health impacts from other testifiers this morning. We need an expanded air monitoring network throughout the Commonwealth to measure this ultrafine particulate matter and black carbon specifically in locations near roadways, which are likely the pollution hotspots. This bill fills a gap by looking at where those hotspots are and putting together a task force that is well positioned to make that identification. DEP will then monitor these locations so that we can actually produce an accurate baseline of information, as well as reduce air pollution in those specific areas. The measures in this bill are bold and necessary, and they will protect residents from all districts, especially those who have for too long borne the larger cost of pollution. I would be happy to answer any questions and will submit a longer written testimony for you to review. I urge you to report out this bill favorably. Thank you again for your opportunity to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you. I want to welcome Senator O'Connor to testify. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Driscoll. Through you to the members of the committee. I'm here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1605 and 1607, which deals with food truck permitting in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This legislation came to me after meeting with members of the South Shore Food Truck Association and sitting down with their members and these food truck owners to discuss some of the challenges that they face. I'm sure all of us know that food trucks have been such a great new and emerging resource. They're at all of our community events, they're at different conventions, and a lot of these vendors also own a lot of brick and mortar stores that associate themselves with the food truck in which the offering that they're providing to residents. Today, all food trucks in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts must have a separate permit from every single local board of health for each mobile food truck that they operate in every single municipality in which they operate in. This process is both costly in time and money to the food truck owners, and there are wide variances between municipalities in permitting fees, expiration dates, protocols, and quite frankly, it's creating a headache right now for our food truck owners and operators, which in almost every circumstance operate in multiple towns at multiple events, sometimes multiple events in the same day. Since filing this bill, I've compiled the annual food truck permit fee for 35 towns throughout southeastern Massachusetts. The fees range from $50 to $300. They all have different expiration dates, and this is going to create and has created a significant burden on vendors who, in that same survey of these food trucks that we've done, operate in between 10 and 20 different municipalities in a given year. In many cases, the food truck is requested to travel to a new town for a single event. They may decide it's not worth it at that point in time because they don't know what the fee structure is. They don't have a permit currently in place. And right now, according to data that we've obtained, the food truck industry nationally is at $2.8 billion with expected growth of 13.2% annually up until 2030. This is an emerging market, and right now, quite frankly, rightfully so, right now we don't have a plan in place when it comes to the permitting process. But I do believe if we charge the Department of Public Health to really dive into how to make this work, how to then equally spread the financial resources, because some communities rely on some of these financial resources, equally spread that around, I think that it makes a lot of sense to really have a universal policy from a state so that food truck operators can decide, not just to go to 10 or 20 different municipalities, but expand and go to even more, and hopefully continue to grow, and we can capitalize on that 2.2% annual expected growth over the next 5 years to hopefully get more brick and mortars, fill some empty storefronts with places that were once food trucks or continue to remain food trucks, but they also have a brick and mortar location. So I'd appreciate consideration of this bill. I think it makes common sense, it's business friendly, and it's really hitting on something that makes our communities proud.
Great. Thank you, Senator. Any questions from the committee members? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have a panel, Omi Armang Amarisingham and David Melly. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Driscoll, members of the committee. My name is Omi Amarisingham, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Massachusetts Public Health Alliance. MPHA's focus is on community-driven policy change that fosters the conditions for people to achieve their full health potential where they live, work, and play. But you cannot be healthy if the air you breathe and the water you drink is toxic. And that is why we are here in support of two bills in front of you today, the Air Quality Bill and also the PFAS Regulation Bill. Monitoring and reducing exposure to air pollutants will reduce the numerous health impacts associated with air pollution, which are disproportionately concentrated in communities of color in Massachusetts. Air pollution is associated with many serious health impacts, including lung cancer, kidney cancer, asthma, cardiovascular disease, fetal growth and preterm birth, stroke, heart disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, seizures, heart attack, hypertension, and cognitive impairment. Outdoor air pollution has many sources, including particulates and emissions from vehicles, but also waste incinerators, power plants, landfills, and more. While poor air quality impacts everyone, gateway cities, communities of color, and low-income communities are more exposed and thus experience greater health problems like asthma and cancers. Statewide monitoring and data collection will allow for targeted interventions that improve health outcomes on a broad scale. Similarly, PFAS are highly toxic chemicals that pose a very real threat to every resident in the Commonwealth. PFAS are extremely toxic to humans, with research linking PFAS exposure to immunosuppression, liver impacts, high cholesterol, kidney damage, endocrine disruption, reduced fertility, lower birth weight, altered mammary gland development, and several cancers, including testicular, prostate, and kidney cancer, among others. PFAS have extensively contaminated the environment since their synthesis in the late 1930s. And their reach has become so influential, in fact, that PFAS have been found in the blood of 97 to 99% of Americans who have been tested. PFAS have become highly prolific in industrial and consumer manufacturing, and the frequent utilization of PFAS in manufacturing introduces the chemicals to the environment, leading to persistent contamination of groundwater, surface water, and most toxically, drinking water. Some of the most common household items featuring PFAS include food packaging, furniture, textiles, clothing, personal care products, and much more, which means that PFAS have become so prevalent that they have been found in breast milk and umbilical cord tissue. For all these reasons, individual lifestyle choices cannot protect Massachusetts residents from cancer-causing pollutants and chemicals in the air, water, and soil. Both of these bills propose a coordinated statewide approach to protect residents from harmful pollutants and chemicals. We thank this committee for your prior work on both of these issues and urge a swift and favorable report.
Thanks so much, Omi. Good morning, Chair Driscoll, members of the committee. My name is David Mellion. I'm the Senior Policy Director for the Environmental League of Massachusetts. I'm pleased to be here alongside MPHA to support legislation on two issues that sit at the heart of public and environmental health: air quality and PFAS contamination. There's really nothing more fundamental than ensuring that the air we breathe and the water we drink is clean and safe. As Omi and many of our other friends and colleagues have shared, the impacts of air pollution and PFAS contamination are significant and widespread, and the impacts of climate change only exacerbate the challenges associated with protecting our natural resources. The next question, of course, is what we can do about it. These bills both take common sense steps towards addressing these challenges with policy solutions that reflect science-informed best practices around the country. The PFAS bill, filed by Rep. Hogan and Senator Sear, builds on the recommendations of the task force convened in 2021 by you all, with measures including product bans on key items like food packaging, children's toys, and textiles to limit the exposure of people to PFAS and PFAS to the environment. This bill is consistent with laws passed around the country, including every other New England state and New York. It's critical that we take similar steps so we don't end up having to deal with PFAS-containing products that can't be sold elsewhere, and the timelines in this bill ensure that there's adequate time for manufacturers and resources and retailers to transition to PFAS-free alternatives. The Department of Environmental Protection is already undertaking a Herculean effort with limited capacity and resources to support cities and towns with monitoring, mitigation, technical support as they wrestle with these challenges. Addressing the PFAS already in the environment is a costly and complicated endeavor. The very least we can do is stop putting more of these chemicals out into the Commonwealth. The air quality bill, filed by Rep. Barber, Rep. Connolly, and Senator Jalen, it sets out to tackle the full scope of the air pollution problem in Massachusetts. Again, this is an area where DEP and DPH are really trying to do the best they can with extremely limited resources that only get scarcer with the end of federal support for air quality monitoring normally funded through the EPA. As it stands currently, even with recent improvements to our monitoring network with the help of ARPA and IRA funding, we don't have a comprehensive map of the air pollution hotspots around the Commonwealth, and we don't monitor for as many pollutants as we should. The money issue is something that we're continuing to work on with your colleagues in the Environment and Ways and Means committees. But the measure here before this committee is an important complementary policy. It creates an advisory committee of experts and community stakeholders to undergo a comprehensive needs assessment of our current status quo, and it also directs DEP to create and implement a plan for monitoring and continuously working to improve air quality statewide, with a particular emphasis on vulnerable communities. These are two distinct issues that happen to come up in the same hearing, but they share some key commonalities. The impacts on our health are clear, the scope of this problem is widespread, but perhaps most importantly, we know the tools we can use to improve outcomes for residents around the state. I encourage the committee to work swiftly to advance these bills, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, and thank you for being here. And it also gives me, I want to thank everyone for sticking the time so far. You can go now. No questions now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. I do want to just recognize that we are about halfway through today's scheduled time for a hearing. Like I mentioned at the top, in case you missed it, we definitely have more people signed up to testify than we have time for this hearing today. So I do want to encourage folks to submit written testimony, particularly if they don't have a chance to provide it orally today, in person or virtually. That can be done at jointcommittee.publichealth@malegislature.gov. And to Matthew Murphy, my legislative director, matthew.murphy@masenate.gov. So keeping comments brief and then submitting in writing is much appreciated as we try and get to as many folks as we can today. Next, I want to move to Bill H2487, an act relative to dental service quotes. Joan Martorella. Joan? Okay. H2426, an act enabling registered dental hygienists to administer nitrous oxide. Janice Gilpin.
Did you hear me?
Oh, Joan, yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I want to have, as far as I know, the dentists don't have any regulations, and I went to the same dentist for 30 years. I never had a problem, and I've since been to about 8 dentists, and 3 of them told me I had to have some work done that I didn't need, and so I'd like to have some regulations for them. And one thing I was thinking of is maybe doing what the Leahy Clinic does. If you see a doctor, they send you a survey. Not every time you go to the doctor, but you can fill out a survey and either mail it to them anonymously or write your name. Because right now, as far as I know, there isn't any punishment for the doctors if they do something wrong, and you don't get reimbursed for anything that they do wrong. I've spent a lot of money, and some of it was for nothing, really. And now the latest thing is I have to have a tooth extraction, and my dentist doesn't do tooth extractions, and I have to go outside of his office. And 2 dentists that I've called, that even though the dentist is going to provide x-rays to the dentist that's going to take out the extraction, they want me to go there before I have the extraction and have a visit, which I have to pay for, an exam, which is the exam I had recently to have this tooth out was about a second. So what am I going for to the dentist twice to have a tooth out? Why not just go there to have the tooth out, because you're going to already have the x-rays for my doctor. So I'd like to see some, I don't think they have any regulations or requirements, because I've had them tell me so many, and other people don't know who to go to for a dentist, because they haven't been very lucky either. The other thing is I'd like to see a plaque on their wall in their office that says if you have a problem or a question, you can call the dental board with their number and address. And Mark Lombardo is trying to put legislation in for me that right now the dental board doesn't have any power to do anything. They'll talk to them, but there's no punishment for the dentists. And Mark has suggested that the dental board looks into a problem and notifies the Attorney General of the problem, and he'll take action. So that's all, and thank you very much for listening to this. And
thank you.
This has been a problem for a while, and I'd like to see something done.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, I'd like to welcome Senator Moore to testify. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you to both chairs and the committee members for taking me out of order. I'm here today to speak in support of my bill, Senate 1588, an act relative to chemicals in food packaging. PFAS is a class of chemicals used to make products waterproof, stain-proof, and grease-resistant. Since the late 1940s, these chemicals have been added to a wide array of products, including non-stick Teflon pans, carpets, clothing, textiles, and soon-to-be-ended firefighting turnout gear, foam, and also firefighter foam to extinguish fires. Studies have linked these chemicals to liver effects, kidney and testicular cancer, disease, decreased immune response, birth defects, high cholesterol, ulcerative colitis, thank you, and other high health hazards. With food packaging, PFAS chemicals will migrate from the packaging container into the food and from the food into people's bodies. Senate 1588 would ban the sale or use of packaging that is manufactured with PFAS. While PFAS chemicals are effective at resisting water and grease, better alternatives do currently exist. Glass, stainless steel, silicone products, and products currently fulfill the same function without exposing consumers to increased health risks. Over 200 scientists that have studied PFAS have issued a consensus statement called the Madrid Statement, urging governments to regulate these chemicals as a class and to eliminate the unnecessary use of PFAS. The language of 1588, which was included in the omnibus PFAS legislation proposed by the Joint Committee on Public Health during the 193rd legislative session, and is based off of legislation that passed in Washington State and Maine in recent years. 11 states have already passed this, with bans on consumer products manufactured with PFAS. It is time for Massachusetts to take action as well. Therefore, it's my hope that Senate 1588 is reported favorably from the committee following today's hearing, and I also want to speak in support of Senate 1509, the omnibus bill. I can say that this legislation was filed. I filed this legislation pre-pandemic, and since then we have seen the study that former Chair Sear and Majority Leader Hogan has issued. We've seen the PFAS ban on firefighter turnout gear. It's hard for me to understand why we would not ban containers that we are putting the food that we are digesting. Why are we not banning this chemical from these products? So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next, Nima Patel. Nima Patel. S1569, an act to improve oral health for all Massachusetts residents. Dr. Michael Singer. Dr. Singer, welcome.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Michael Singer from Newton, here in favor of H2410 and S1569. I'm a licensed physician, biotech founder, and public health volunteer. I trained and went on to train medical and dental students at Harvard and Yale. I have no personal or financial stake in this bill. I'm here because each of you has constituents with bacteria burrowing into their nerves, bone, and bloodstream because they couldn't get a simple cavity filled at an affordable
Oh, man,
price.
I feel this one.
There aren't enough dentists, especially outside of Boston, and too few accept Mass Health. Meanwhile, our emergency rooms see 30,000 preventable tooth cases a year. They treat pain and infections, but not the real culprit, which is tooth decay. In medicine, we solve similar shortages with mid-level providers. We've had physician assistants for over 50 years, nurse practitioners for over 40. They're trained, licensed, supervised, and safe. This bill will do the same for dentistry. Dental therapists are a mid-level role focused on prevention and fillings. 14 states, including 3 in New England, already employ them successfully. Dental therapists finish dental hygiene school, a master's degree, then 2 years of supervised practice. By this time, they've had as many hours of supervised patient care as new dentists, and often more. Dental therapy training programs are accredited by CODA, part of the American Dental Association, the same body that covers dental schools. A controlled study at Boston's Forsyth Institute showed mid-level practitioners fill cavities as skillfully as dentists. In a dozen real-world studies in Minnesota, Alaska, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, the work of dental therapists was safe and effective. Under this bill, dental therapists will be supervised by the Board of Registration in Dentistry, which has ensured the quality of licensees since 1887. Despite what I've told you, critics will speculate that dental therapists are unsafe or unskilled. Respectfully, I challenge them to show you any negative data from other states where they've practiced with dentists for 20 years, or from New Zealand, where they've practiced since 1921. So why the resistance? Dentists are human, and candidly, a few are vocal because they want to avoid competition. That means keeping services scarce and patients suffering to keep prices high. Our society does a poor job of caring for oral health, and that's bad for systemic health. This bill is an evidence-based opportunity to do better. Other states have paved the way. The board, universities, and accrediting bodies are experts in dentistry and can be trusted to protect patients and ensure professional competency.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Aaliyah Demand, Aaliyah, on virtual?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hi, good morning, members of the Public Health Committee. My name is Aaliyah Diamond. I'm a registered dental hygienist practicing in Western Mass, a pre-dental student, and the current regulation and practice chair for the Massachusetts Dental Hygienists Association. I testify today in strong support of S1569H2410, establishing the dental therapy model. The evidence is clear. Dental therapy expands access, lowers costs, and brings care to our most vulnerable patients. In Franklin County, patients wait months or go without care entirely because of insurance barriers, distance, or lack of providers taking Medicaid. Some drive over an hour for just a filling, and many come in only when pain is severe after years of avoiding care. The consequences are serious: missed work, missed school, disrupted sleep, poor nutrition, and higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and so much more. According to the Health Policy Commission, preventable oral health emergency visits cost Massachusetts $36 million annually. Yet only 35% of dentists saw mass health patients last year. That brings us to dental therapy, a proven cost-effective solution. Like other mid-level providers, dental therapists expand the workforce under a defined scope and supervision. The data shows clear results. In underserved communities, dental therapists increased patient visits by 35% in 1 year. In Alaska, they served over 45,000 patients in remote villages, reducing untreated childhood decay by 25%. In 13 states, wait times dropped by 25% and 30% more Medicaid patients received care. States implementing dental therapy saw a 20% reduction in untreated decay among low-income patients. We have over 1,000 peer-reviewed studies confirming that dental therapists provide safe, effective care at lower costs, reducing ER visits and Medicaid spending while reaching patients who otherwise go without. Passing this bill means thousands of Massachusetts families will finally access timely care, keeping children in school, parents at work, and communities healthier. I also urge you to support H2426, which would allow dental hygienists to administer nitrous oxide. This short-acting, non-invasive sedative reduces anxiety, manages gag reflexes, and increases comfort, especially for children, patients with disabilities, and those with dental fear. 39 states already allow hygienists to administer nitrous oxide, with 6 more allowing monitoring. Massachusetts is one of only 5 states left behind. Massachusetts has the opportunity to join the states that have already shown dental therapy and nitrous administration work. Both of these bills represent evidence-based changes that expand care, reduce costs, and improve health equity. For these reasons, I urge you to vote in favor of S1569, H2410, and H2426. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. S1531 and H2496, an act prohibiting harmful food dyes in competitive school foods. Allison Chapman. Allison? Welcome.
Thank you for having me. You've seen me testify before. Is this a microphone on?
Yeah, that's right.
And you've heard that my kids have had some health issues. It's probably very understated. And I brought my son, CJ, here today, who really wanted to be involved, but he had a seizure, as I mentioned a few months ago. And it's been difficult for him to spell. But he just spelled to me something I did not know. So before I start, I'd like to let you know what he feels. We're talking about food dyes today. He wants to tell them that my brain pulses when I eat red dye, eat foods with red dye, which he's not supposed to, so that would be him stealing food with red dye in it. But I feel like I needed to tell you that first. Obviously, I'm here to discuss and in support of H2496 and S1531. And thank you, chairs, for having me today. I am the mother of 3 children, and today I'm here to speak about synthetic food dyes, the direct, harmful impact they have on children like mine, as well as across the state, the country. Since 1970s and 80s, Dr. Feingold and others have been sounding the alarm on health behavioral outcomes of eating synthetic-based food dyes and too much sugar. Many studies have found adverse events on children and adults. 2009 Journal of Nutrition and Environmental Medicine, a double-blind placebo-controlled study showed that tartrazine, which is yellow 5, reduced zinc levels in children and worsened their hyperactivity and emotional regulation. Zinc is critical for brain development, and this dye undermines it. 2022, Kahn et al., McMaster University, researchers found long-term exposure to red 40 disrupts gut health, increases inflammation, and makes the body more susceptible to Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. 2023, human gut microbe study was shown to metabolize azo dyes like red 40, yellow 5, sunset yellow, altering microbiome growth and potentially disturbing the entire gut system. There are many studies on prisons and prison food as well, and on the aggression that increases when you do not feed people real food and you feed them synthetic dyes like the food dyes. Educational impact. School is a place where we prepare children to learn, socialize, and navigate the world, but when we introduce substances into their body that impair their brain and ability to process information, that prevents them from sitting still and increases aggression, and we aren't just harming that child, we are disrupting the entire classroom. For my family, CJ is what I called the window. He can show me what is harmful to everyone very clearly. His reactions are stark and undeniable. If he eats something with food dye, he can have a seizure, and he's often sneaking it from someone else. Other countries have already banned them or put food labels on them, and as you can see here, in the United States, companies like Kellogg's make much safer versions. In other countries, this is Germany, this is the United States, and it cut off. There's a lot more still coming behind. It's important to note that we can make food better for our kids' brains in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Cara Folan on virtual. Alicia Williams. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Alicia Williams, and I'm the mother of 3 children. My perspective comes from not the research papers or laboratories, but from 12 years of a lived experience as a parent, watching the effects of food dyes on my child. When my oldest son was in preschool, he was described as busy, lacking attention, and having no safety awareness. Doctors used the term motor-driven. Timeouts and behavior corrections were part of his daily life. Then one Thursday morning, I skipped our usual stop for coffee and a chocolate donut hole. That day, something changed. My son was calm, focused, and easygoing. For the first time, I didn't need to discipline him at all. That same evening, a magazine arrived in the mail with the headline, "Food Dye and Behavior, the link you aren't making." That moment redirected the course of my son's life. My son and I removed processed snacks, brightly colored candies, and other food with dyes in our home. We replaced them with fruits and vegetables, proteins, and dye-free alternatives. The change was dramatic. His preschool teacher pulled me aside to say how glad she was that we had finally found the right medication. When I explained that no medication was involved, that we had simply removed food dyes, she was stunned. She described him with words we had never heard before: calm, easygoing, and focused. 12 years later, we still avoid food dyes, but it is an uphill battle. These chemicals are in ice cream from the food truck, birthdays, cupcakes at school, vending machines, microwave meals, and sports drinks. When my son eats even one piece of hard red-colored candy, we are faced with 24 hours of combativeness, argumentative behavior. This is not coincidence. It is a clear, repeatable cause and effect. I am not alone in this. When I've shared our experience with other parents, many tried to remove dyes themselves. They too saw calmer and more focused children. The difference is real. So my question to you is this: why are we still allowing these chemicals derived from petroleum to be added to the food our children eat? These additives provide no nutritional value, no benefit, and yet carry real harm. Europe has already placed restrictions on food dyes, requiring warning labels or outright bans. Why are our Massachusetts children not afforded the same protections in school? This committee has the power to change that. You have the power to reduce behavioral challenges in classrooms, to lighten the load on families, and to protect children from unnecessary harm. My husband, who could not be here today, put it best. What benefits do these chemicals bring? None. What harm do they cause? Far too much. I've waited 15 years to stand here and say food dyes are hurting our children. I urge you to take action and start the process to remove these dyes from school-based foods. Companies have to stop hurting our children for profit. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Next, I have a panel: Rosemary Shields, Diane Turco, Peter Moyer for S1596 and H2488, an act relative to monitoring dry casks of spent nuclear fuel. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. I'm audible. Good morning. Thank you very much, Chairs Driscoll and Decker and committee members. We three are here all in support of Bill 2248, which calls for better, that's it, 2488, sorry, which calls for better monitoring of the nuclear waste at the Pilgrim Power Plant. Three of us are going to speak to it. My name is Peter Moyer. I am a retired emergency physician. I was once the medical director of the emergency departments at Boston City and then Boston Medical Center. And most recently, I was the medical director for Boston Fire, EMS, and Police. So I have a sense of disasters. And I'm also a member of something called Physicians for Social Responsibility, which deals with a number of issues. This is one of them, nuclear power. And I have joined with this group the downwinders from Cape Cod, who oppose a number of moves at Pilgrim, one of which is inadequately monitored canisters holding radioactive waste. So let me just talk about it for a second. Last spring, I went and visited with Diane the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant in Plymouth. It's, I don't know if you all know this, but as the crow flies, it's about 35 miles from Boston and about 45 miles from Providence. So there are big population bases around it. And in particular today, we're going to talk about the 62 canisters, which are large cylinders, which now contain the nuclear waste from the power plant. This is high potency nuclear waste, and it is stored there for now, but it could be there forever unless we as a country and as a state for that matter develop deep repositories for the nuclear waste, which we don't currently have. So they're stored there on this concrete pallet a couple hundred yards from Cape Cod Bay, and you can see them. I did this with Dan. We drove down, it's called Rocky Point Road, off of which is the nuclear power plant, and you can actually see these canisters from the road. So they're these large gray cylinders are 18 feet high, 11 feet across. They weigh about as much as a Boeing 747. They're big. And there's 62 of them, and they're full of nuclear waste. When I say nuclear waste, I would have thought that the uranium used for nuclear power is in this waste, but after a certain point, it no longer is profitable to use it to create electricity, to boil the water, to turn the steam turbines, so that at a certain point they quit using it and they store it. And we all have that in our community. Wherever there's a nuclear reactor, there's no place it's stored right now in the world. As you all know, probably Yucca Mountain, where it's going to be stored, was never okayed, so there is no such place as storage, and it ends up being in our backyard. That is one message I'd like to take home. Sure. Yep. The casts themselves. I just want to say there are casts and there are casts. This is a multi-person purpose cast. Could have been used in a number of different ways, and it has a number of weaknesses. You're going to mention them? Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm with the League of Women Voters of the Cape Cod area. I agree with everything these people are saying. We have 2 minutes left. Yes. And thank you. I'm Diane Turco. I'm Director of Cape Town Windows. And thank you. This committee has already passed this bill on during multiple sessions. So we are very grateful for your understanding of what this big issue is, and it still remains as serious as ever. As Dr. Moya said, we did go on the property, and we came this close to these cans, and what we can talk about is we need to have monitors. Right now there are none, and if there is a leak, nobody will know. Even the president of Holtec, that is working on the decommissioning and owns these cans, admits even a microscopic crack through-wall crack will release millions of curies of radionuclides into the environment. And there is no plan if there is a crack or there is a release. Right now, we don't even know if there's a release. And if there is a release, there's no mitigation plan. It's going to happen. Holtec also applied for an exemption for emergency planning around these cans. What they said is there's no credible event that could happen that could release any of these radionuclides. So we're very concerned that not only do we need monitoring, but then we also need a plan if something happens, and that's not in place right now. Yep.
These cans are cemented at the top. There's no way to get into them, so there are no monitors inside. There's no temperature monitor, radiation monitor, helium monitor, which is used to cool it. So there are no monitors either there or they could be used.
Oh, okay. So the nuclear decommissioning panel said in June of 2019 that tons of highly radioactive spent nuclear fuel will remain in Plymouth for the foreseeable future, and in our informed opinion, this will be the single greatest safety and security issue facing surrounding communities in the state. So we thank the panel for supporting these bills. We expect that it will pass again, but we also urge you to help get this passed out onto a floor vote this year. If you have any questions, we could answer them for you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thanks so much.
All right. We'll be submitting written testimony
perfect.
with
thank
documents.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Paul Jakes, PFFM. Thank you very much. Deirdre Cummings, MassPerg on virtual.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you, Chair Driscoll and Chair Decker and members of the committee. My name is Deirdre Cummings. I'm the Legislative Director for MassPerg, and we're here today to support the PFAS bill filed by Representative Kate Hogan and Senator Sear. I'm going to shorten my testimony today. You will hear from medical folks. What I really wanted to do, one, is first to thank the committee. Last year you put out a strong bill, and we look forward to working with you to do that again. I have submitted our comments in writing, more details, but today I just wanted to focus on really one main thing, just to talk about MassPerg. Massachusetts does have a PFAS problem. 172 public water systems in 96 cities and towns already exceed the state MCL, the contaminant level for PFAS. thousands of residents who rely on private wells. Those wells are an exceedance of PFAS. This results in the need to spend more and more money to keep drinking water clean, or to invest in alternative water sources. The DPH issued an advisory not to drink bottled water from a local company in 2023 because it exceeded the PFAS standards. They have also posted more than 40 freshwater fish advisories, warning residents not to eat the fish caught in those waters due to PFAS contamination. It's time to act. The issue has been studied. There's been an interagency task force. This committee has released a bill. We hope that this bill will pass this session and protect the public from the threats caused by PFAS. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Jennifer Peterson.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jennifer Peterson. I'm the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Waterworks Association. We represent over 1,500 drinking water professionals across the Commonwealth. Thank you, chairs and members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify today on House 2450 and Senate 1504. I was a member of the PFAS Interagency Task Force, and I want to thank Vice Chair Sear, Speaker Pro Tem Hogan, and Vice Chair Cairns for their leadership on this issue. Mass Waterworks supports the overall goals of this legislation, reducing PFAS at the source, supporting water systems and residents dealing with contamination, and improving public education. We do note that there are some differences between the two bills, and we will submit detailed written comments. But today I want to highlight the most urgent challenge for our members: funding treatment to meet increasingly stringent standards. Since 2020, 170 Massachusetts water systems have detected PFAS above the state's 20 part per trillion standard. Now, with EPA's new and much lower 4 part per trillion standard for PFOA and PFOS, even systems that already invested in treatment must reassess if it's adequate while facing significant ongoing operation, maintenance, and media replacement costs. We appreciate the creation of a PFAS remediation trust fund, but establishing the fund is only a first step. Robust appropriation is necessary, and funding must go beyond potential national settlements, which will not be enough to cover the costs Massachusetts systems are already facing. To date, the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust has committed $576 million in 0% state revolving fund loans for just 56 PFAS drinking water projects. Mass DEP has distributed other grants, which puts the total expenditures well above $600 million. Some water systems have privately financed their treatment, making the total cost for complying with the Massachusetts standards thus far really unknown. DEP estimates that 163 systems will be impacted by the new federal standard, which will require far more investment. Yet our state revolving fund, the primary mechanism for funding infrastructure projects, is already capacity constrained. In the last round, they were only able to provide funding to 13 of 43 new projects submitted. Investments for PFAS remediation are diverting necessary funds for other really important water infrastructure projects. EPA estimates that funding to comply with other Safe Drinking Water Act requirements is $15.2 billion over the next 20 years. Ratepayers simply cannot afford to shoulder the costs of all of the needed improvements and these new requirements to remediate PFAS. Increased and sustained state and federal funding is urgently needed, and that's why we're supporting some other bills, including House 1022 and Senate 563, which are currently before the Environment Committee. We are concerned about language in this bill requiring communities to repay the state if they receive settlements. So we appreciate the opportunity to comment, and we will welcome the opportunity to work with the committee before you finalize the bill and give it a favorable report.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Kevin Messner. Kevin, welcome.
Good morning, almost afternoon. My name is Kevin Messner. I'm with Group Sept. We're the world's largest cookware manufacturer. So I wanted to speak a little bit on the bill that addresses cookware.
The largest what?
I'm Kevin Messner. I'm with Group Sept. I'm the world's largest cookware manufacturer. I wanted to talk about the cookware and the PFAS issue. First of all, on the bill, I wanted to talk quickly about the product scope. The product scope is not just pots and pans. It's anything that stores, dispenses, or prepares food. So it's everything from pot or pan up to microwave, refrigerators, coffee makers. There is a affordability issue here. The nonstick cookware that we use and we manufacture and that people use every day is costs less than the alternative, around $300 for a 10-piece set of cookware, and it lasts longer. So by banning the high-performance nonstick, you will add to the landfill issues. I've heard a lot this morning about PFAS and water districts, and I'll get into the chemistry, but California looks at water districts. The California Water Board looks at water districts and sees what PFAS is in the water districts across the state. Zero. PTFE is the nonstick coating is found in water districts. The reason? Because the laws of chemistry. The laws of chemistry state, and because of its molecule, it is immobile in the environment. It is not bioaccumulative in the body. It has no polarity. That is why it is used on pacemakers. Plumber's tape is PTFE tape. So it does not mobile in the environment, and it does not bioaccumulate. It cannot pass through a cell membrane. So this is a completely inert, stable chemical that's lumped into 14,000 PFAS. So we hear about PFAS, but that's 14,000 chemicals. It's not looking at the properties and the chemical properties. So this is laws of chemistry that we're talking about here. This is factual. The last thing I want to touch on, well, I should also say the American Cancer Society on their website says cookware, nonstick cookware is fine. I'm running out of time, so I'll just touch on other states. New York had a bill. They took cookware out, but they didn't ultimately pass that bill. Illinois took cookware out, and then they're looking at fluoropolymers. New Mexico took fluoropolymers out of the PFAS bill. Canada took fluoropolymers out. France took cookware out. When you look at the science and you look at the laws of chemistry, this is the safest surface to cook on. And I will just end with my last 5 seconds. You'll hear some things about birds and then also high temperature and scratching. Birds have a unidirectional respiratory system. They're also find avocados toxic, so birds are not what they're used for human health. Thank you. I know you guys have a lot of people to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from committee? Thank you very much for being here. I want to move to another bill quickly. S1558, an act banning the sale of Kratom. Jennifer Healy? Jennifer? Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to testify today, Senator Driscoll and Senator Decker. My name is Jennifer Healy. I'm from Easton, Massachusetts. I'm a mother of 4 and a medically retired health plan executive. I have a son who's been struggling with addiction for the last 20 years, and I'm retired due to failed back surgeries and chronic pain syndrome. These have created challenges for both of us, just given the situation. But after researching what I've seen on Kratom, I've done some research, and the plant seems to have potential to help those suffering with conditions that my son and I have. Currently, right now, there are very few options for those who face addiction and the withdrawals, as well as for those with chronic pain. We have completely gone to the other side with chronic pain and trying to control it. Each day I struggle with this, but what I do know is that Kratom has been shown to help with PTSD, chronic pain, and addiction. And because of that, I would like to see the plant itself regulated and looked into. I don't want to see us throwing out a plant that potentially could promote some things that are very helpful to us right now. So in looking at this, I think you will be getting a handout with some information in it, and I ask you to look very closely at it because there are some examples in there where a toxicology report is going to show a kratom death no matter what. regardless if they get the bottle, the 7-OH in the stores, which I don't think should be legal at all. I do think they should be banned. But the plant is different. The plant has a 3% addiction profile, and the plant has been shown in its whole leaf pure form to be a benefit, not a harmful thing to people that are using it. Right now, our life is a daily struggle. Both of us are lost and frustrated with the options and lack of options available to us. I'm alarmed that anyone who consider a potential treatment option is a ban when our toolbox is already empty of options. So many of us considered, I mentioned earlier. We went down that road with marijuana. We banned it. We thought it was horrible. We've now gone the other way, where we've seen cannabinoids and different things, when isolated and taken correctly, they can actually be beneficial, and they do help people with chronic pain, and they do help people, I believe, on the withdrawal somewhat come off of it. So my reason for testifying today is to ask that you consider not banning the entire plant, that you really look at that, because there are millions of people out there that can get this online in any way they want to get it right now. What I would like to see happen is it regulated, and that I think now we're at the level where I know local municipalities have been looking at it and they've been dealing with it, but I think the state needs to come in and take a hand on this and really get control of it, because the 7-OH, I agree, get that off the shelves. It's synthetic, it's hurting people, but the plant itself, I believe, can be very beneficial, and I'm asking you to please consider that going forward.
Great. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. John Cleveland? Welcome.
Good afternoon. Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, committee. Thanks for the opportunity to testify. I'm John Cleveland. It's an honor to be here on behalf of Holistic Alternative Recovery Trust, or HART. HART is a nonprofit advocacy organization formed to support continued access to plant-based consumer products like Kratom, as well as its naturally occurring derivatives like 7-hydroxymetragenine, which is addressed in two bills before you today, S1558 and S1609. 7-hydroxymetragenine, or 7-OH, is a naturally occurring component of the Kratom plant, which itself has been used for centuries in Southeast Asia and increasingly in the U.S. for pain management, focus, and other therapeutic reasons. While 7-OH is present in the raw Kratom plant in small amounts, it's also a primary metabolite produced in the body after ingesting Kratom's main compound, metragenine. It's not a designer drug nor a novel made-up chemical being snuck into smoke shops. It's what your liver, your body's most vital filter, converts Kratom into after you ingest it. So starting in 2023, manufacturers began isolating 7-OH and selling it independently from Kratom leaf. Since that time, at least 1 million Americans have consumed 7-OH products, according to independent healthcare consulting firm the Marwood Group. They've done so in large part for harm reduction purposes. Many self-reporting therapeutic consumers say they take 7-OH to help manage opioid use disorder and withdrawal symptoms. But critics of 7-OH argue it poses similar dangers to opioids like heroin and morphine. Science tells a different story. 7-OH is a partial opioid agonist. It partially binds to the mu receptors to mitigate pain, but it has minimal effect on the beta-arrestin pathway, which is the mechanism responsible for respiratory depression and the primary cause of opioid overdose deaths. Studies have found no measurable LD50 level or lethal dose level for 7-OH. They show lower risk of side effects and abuse compared to opioids. That's because 7-OH has a ceiling effect. Taking more won't produce more results. Notably, the FDA's public database, the Adverse Event Reporting System, shows only around 30 adverse event reports linked to 7-OH, hundreds fewer than soap. That's 30 adverse events out of 500 million servings consumed. An August report by America's Poison Centers confirmed the finding that 0 deaths are attributable to 7-OH alone. The recent push to ban 7-OH isn't about public health, it's about intra-industry politics. If prohibition succeeds here in Massachusetts, the people who suffer will not be bad actors. It'll be average Americans, typically in their 50s, who use 7-OH to manage chronic pain, recover from addiction, and reclaim their health. The 7-OH industry is not asking for a free pass. In fact, it's asking to be regulated, calling for milligram limits, lab testing, product labeling, advertising rules, quality standards. That's what responsible reform looks like. It's the path we hope you'll follow. An outright ban would only drive the market underground, just like alcohol or cannabis. Prohibition is not going to eliminate demand. It will empower black markets, punish law-abiding consumers, and put public health at greater risk. We ask that members of the committee reject S1558 and S1609 as written, and instead embrace solutions based on science, compassion, and freedom.
Great. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Greg Gately? Welcome.
Thank you for everyone. Thank you for having me. This is a really, let me explain who I am, why I'm sitting here today. So my name is Greg Gately. I'm the owner of Root Awakening Kava Bar. I'm the only Kava bar in Massachusetts, the only Kava bar in New Hampshire, and I am the only person that serves Kratom under a licensed business. And I am a big advocate for this for many reasons. When I first opened my Kava bar, I did not serve Kratom. I was just purely Kava. Since then, I have educated myself, and we now serve it to the public for members in the community that are looking to remove alcohol and other substances in their life. It's really enlightened my perception on what Kratom has done over these past few months. Kratom has gotten a reputation, at least it's gotten stronger, and that's why we're sitting here today. So last night in Nashua, we actually came to a historic conclusion, and between myself and my community, we worked together with the city of Nashua to come to a compromise. So it's now 21 plus as opposed to 18 plus. So I sit here today, yes, you're gonna hear all the different facts about Kratom. You're gonna hear about 7-OH. I'm an advocate against it, of course. I watch people, some of my customers go through these struggles of removing 7-OH out of their system, and my Kratom leaf, that the way I make it, this helps them wean off of that. It's called gas station heroin for a reason. So the way I prep my tea, it's literally a tea. I take the leaf, ground up, I brew it in a percolator, just like you guys wake up and brew your coffee. That's the way I make it. Customers, they leave my bar with a little boost of energy and a little focusedness. That's it. On the other side of things, it's also an incredible pain management tool. Not the 7-OH, just the way I make my tea. I've had people, customers, come into my bar that after learning about Kratom, using it, literally cry in my arms because they said that I've saved their lives. I am helping people, and if this plant is removed, I fear for what will happen, not just to their health, but also these law-abiding citizens will now become criminals. That's a very scary thought. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. All right. Clint Richmond. Clint. Erica Keismer McKeon. Oh, Clint, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Clint Richmond, and I serve as the Toxics Policy Lead for the Massachusetts Sierra Club. I'm here today representing our 100,000 members and supporters. Within the toxics category, the Act to Protect Massachusetts Public Health from PFAS remains our #1 priority bill. And here's why it's justified and feasible. 1, PFAS forever chemicals are the worst of the worst when it comes to synthetic toxic chemicals. Last session, I called it toxic enemy #1, and I stand by that today. We commend Rep. Hogan and Senator Sear for leading the PFAS task force, for documenting the risks of PFAS based on scientific evidence, and for following through on its recommendations with the proposed comprehensive legislation that is again before this committee. 11 states from the west coast to the northeast have already banned PFAS in multiple consumer product categories like our proposed bills. In each of these states, bans have already gone into effect in one or more categories. States need to act now because the EPA is seemingly abandoning efforts to control and mitigate the harms from PFAS. States need to act now because we predict that the U.S. Congress will not act on it. I'd like to just say something about the cookware. We asked the cookware manufacturers to take responsibility for the deadly use of the now banned PFOA in the manufacture of PTFE Teflon at Parkersburg, West Virginia, at the DuPont factory, and Hoosick Falls, New York. Fluoropolymers are a forever plastic found everywhere in the world in every environment. So let's give consumers safer products. Let's protect our Commonwealth from further PFAS contamination. We urge you to send this bill to Ways and Means. We call on the leaders of the General Court to pass it as soon as possible. Additionally, we would also request that you act on H2369 S1548 to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Erica Keismer McKeon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Decker, Chair Driscoll, and members of the committee. I am Erica Keismer McKeown, a senior attorney in the Communities and Toxic Program at the Conservation Law Foundation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of S1504 and H2405. The Conservation Law Foundation strongly supports the goals of this bill. You've heard and will hear from our coalition partners regarding the significant threat to human health and the environment from PFAS. I will use my 3 minutes to specifically discuss a few areas where the bills could be strengthened to ensure that they more fully protect Massachusetts residents from PFAS. First, as currently drafted, the bill requires DEP to schedule the phase out of the use, sale, and distribution of sludge without DEP's site-specific approval. While this is a good start, it doesn't go far enough. The science is clear that PFAS and sludge poses significant risks to human health and the environment, and that all sludge contains PFAS. Therefore, the bill should establish a clear and immediate prohibition on the land application or distribution of sludge and sludge-derived products such as fertilizer or compost. This prohibition should not be subject to DEP discretion. Second, the Department of Public Health should restrict PFAS in all products and not just consumer products. Every single use of PFAS contributes to contamination and harms public health. It simply does not make sense from a scientific perspective to only restrict PFAS in consumer products while leaving other products, such as those with commercial or industrial uses, completely unregulated. Third, the Department of Health should be able to restrict products soon after the bill is enacted, rather than waiting a decade, as the bill is currently drafted. The public health emergency caused by PFAS is much too urgent to wait so long to take action. We need to turn off the tap on PFAS now, not wait until 2035. Fourth, as currently drafted, the permanent exemptions in H2405 are much too broad and would prevent Massachusetts from restricting the majority of currently used PFAS. For example, the bill permanently exempts restricting fluorinated gases, which account for 59% of the PFAS in use worldwide. Some of the language even goes so far as to undo provisions in other parts of the bill by permanently preventing restrictions on PFAS in certain types of food packaging and personal care products. Some of the exemption language is so broadly written that it could cover virtually anything, completely undoing the purpose of the bill. All permanent exemptions should be eliminated except for currently unavoidable and strictly defined medical devices and pharmaceutical drugs and products that are specifically preempted by federal law. In closing, CLF strongly supports the goals of S1504 and H205 and urges the committee to update the language as described and then vote the bill favorably out of committee to protect Massachusetts residents from toxic PFAS chemicals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Jeffrey Guy? Jeffrey? No. Okay. Kat Kobe? Sorry if I mispronounced your last name. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of an act to protect Massachusetts public health from PFAS filed by Senator Sear and Rep. Hogan. This bill is crucial to maintaining our public health, our natural resources, and our municipal finances during a period of great uncertainty. My name is Kat Kobel, and I am the Senior Environmental Planner at the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. MAPC serves as the regional planning agency for the people who live and work in the 101 cities and towns in the Metro Boston region. I'm also an Easton resident. PFAS are becoming a major challenge for our communities, primarily in their drinking supplies. There are a few indicators to presage when water sources could be contaminated, and even fewer options for affordable treatment once PFAS are detected. That is where this legislation comes in. This bill would sunset the use and availability of products containing intentionally added PFAS, and it would also create a badly needed remediation trust fund to help address contamination in drinking water, groundwater, soil, wastewater, sludge, and more. This is necessary for several reasons. First, installing PFAS filters can cost municipalities millions of dollars and are not a permanent solution, as they need to be replaced as frequently as every 8 years. Additionally, as more states ban the sale of products with PFAS, existing products will continue to be sold in states without restrictions. So far, 11 states have banned PFAS and 29 others are considering it. If we wait, those forever chemicals will end up in our water supply, our soil, our food, increasing chances of cancer, liver damage, and thyroid disease, which could put avoidable strain on individual finances and our healthcare system. Second, because water infrastructure projects are so expensive and few resources exist to provide grant funding to cities and towns, smaller and lower income communities are put at a major disadvantage when local projects are needed. Those that do not have a large tax base struggle to raise the millions needed to replace impacted drinking and wastewater, while others may not be able to afford the debt from the SRLF, even at 0% interest. Further, funding will be provided to assist with the remediation of private wells for communities that amend their codes to require private well water quality testing for PFAS for property sales and new construction. Regardless, a trust that can provide additional financing opportunities and support will not only advance these projects where they are needed most, but also reduce PFAS exposure for residents of the Commonwealth and help improve and maintain our public health in the long run. In addition, we ask for a favorable report of an act to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution, and we have submitted more detailed written testimony outlining our support. We appreciate your attention to this matter and ask that you report both these bills favorably. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Heather Klisch and Clint Richmond. We already got Clint? Yeah, Clint already went. Heather? Okay. Martin Wolf, welcome.
Chair Decker, Chair Driscoll, honorable members of this committee, thank you for this opportunity to testify before you in support of H 2450 and S 1504, Acts to Protect Massachusetts Public Health from PFAS. My name is Martin Wolf. I come before you as a chemist, which science I have studied and practiced most of my adult life, and as an advisor on safer chemicals and circular economy to the American Sustainable Business Network. ASBN is an organization of businesses and investors, including the Sustainable Business Network of Massachusetts. ASBN and its member associations collectively represent over 200,000 businesses across the country, spanning most all industries. In addition to this oral testimony, I will submit written copies of my comments. In presenting this testimony, I hope to bring to your attention three facts about PFAS. PFAS cause harm to human health and the environment. The cost to remove PFAS from the environment and to remediate the harms they cause far exceed their benefit, and cost-effective replacements for PFAS are available in each of the product categories considered by this legislation. Therefore, there is no credible reason to manufacture, sell, offer for sale, or distribute in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts products considered by this legislation that contain PFAS. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, defined PFAS as fluorinated substances that contain at least one fluorinated carbon atom. These acts use a similar definition, which is appropriate. Other definitions are used or proposed that include fewer substances and therefore are less protective of the health of Massachusetts citizens and our environment. PFAS have spread throughout our environment and are found in the blood of more than 98% of Americans and found in the drinking water of more than 172 million Americans, including more than 1 million residents of Massachusetts. PFAS persist in the environment, and PFAS cause harm. Effects from PFAS include carcinogenicity, and you have heard the other impacts. PFAS are already restricted in several other states, including 6 states that ban them in cookware. In closing, I hope that you pass H 2450 and S 1504 and recognize that this represents an economic opportunity for businesses in Massachusetts to produce healthier products without toxic PFAS. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Questions from the committee?
Thank you for your testimony. So, thank you for noting that 6 other states have managed to ban PFAS in cookware, and it seems like what they've done is it's presented opportunities, just as we have when we ban flame retardants in certain products. It's given other corporations an opportunities to innovate and provide alternatives. And so at the moment, it seems like these 6 states, people are still cooking and buying cookware, and people are still moving along here.
I definitely agree, and if I could make one other comment, saving $300 over 10 years pales in comparison to the cost of over $76 billion to our healthcare system that toxic chemicals like PFAS impose on all Americans. That's $600 per household per year.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you we've actually noted that as well, having worked on this for several years now on committee. The cost to our healthcare system, the cost to our insurers, the cost to our municipalities, the cost to our health. I mean, fortunately, this is the Public Health Committee, so our first responsibility is looking at the health outcomes and impacts on people and the environment. And what we know based on those 6 other states, and what we know when we actually moved to take flame retardants out of furniture and children's toys, is that not only was that initial cost savings that was touted as a reason not to protect public health, but what we saw was that innovative businesses quickly leveled out the market, and that gap in price became almost nil, if not completely competitive. So just thank you for your comments.
And I thank you for your realization and inclusion of these considerations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. On virtual, Mary Almsetti. Mary Almasetti.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Oh, thank you. My name is Mary Almsetti, and I'm a resident of Bedford, Massachusetts. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in favor of House Bill H2496 and Senate Bill 1531. As a parent of children who are or will be in the public school system, I support these bills as an important step toward making schools healthier for all students. Many of the food dyes that this bill would affect are already banned or restricted in much of the world. For example, in the EU, foods that contain the dye Red 40 must carry a warning label stating that it may cause hyperactivity and inattention in children, and the state of California has already outright banned it. Red dye number 3 had already been banned for food use in most of the developed world for years before the FDA moved to eliminate it from U.S. foods at the end of 2024, though this has not yet gone into effect. In 2021, California's Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment looked at over 200 studies and clinical trials and concluded with high confidence that synthetic dyes can cause or worsen behavioral issues, memory problems, and difficulty learning. Clearly, this is the last thing that should be promoted in schools. As a parent of a 5th grader, I can attest that children hate to feel different from their peers. If all their friends are buying Doritos from the school cafeteria or vending machine, the last thing they will want to do is say that their mother will not allow them to do so. Many parents may also assume that if a food is sold in schools, it must be relatively healthy or at least harmless. And frankly, as a parent, I believe that we ought to be able to assume this. These bills would help to make schools a healthier environment for all children. Sorry. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Now I'd like to welcome Speaker Pro Tem Hogan to testify, and also Senator Sear virtually as well. So we're going to try a hybrid panel with our bill sponsors.
Well, thank you so much for taking me out of order, and I'll try to be as concise as possible. It's a bill close to my heart, so I always feel I need to testify. Good morning or afternoon, Chairs Decker and Driscoll, honorable colleagues. House Bill 2450, a act to protect Massachusetts public health from PFAS, also known as the Mass PFAS Act, is a comprehensive bill that supports the Commonwealth's efforts to combat PFAS contamination. It advances many recommendations from the legislature's PFAS Interagency Task Force, which I co-chaired with Senator Sear, who is somewhere to be found, yes. And was filed for the first time last session and advanced by this committee, so thank you for that as well. It received a favorable vote from the Joint Committee on Healthcare Financing, and last session advanced to House Ways and Means. Although the bill has never made it to the floor for a vote, several provisions in the bill have already been enacted, including phasing out PFAS in firefighting protective gear, funding an annual buyback program for firefighting foam, which has been very successful, and increasing funds to Mass DEP to provide technical support to public water systems facing PFAS contamination. Proud of the work that Massachusetts is doing around addressing contamination and to prevent future pollution alongside strong partners in our state agencies such as DPH, DEP, DFS, MDAR, and NEMA, who reliably monitor the levels of PFAS in our waterways, assist our municipalities and local organizations when contamination is detected, and keeps Massachusetts abreast of the latest technology and the best practices for PFAS mitigation. In my district, there have been several recent instances of this support. In Hudson, Mass DEP helped the town overcome steep funding and permitting challenges to implement a filtration system for its public water supply, and they spent many hours showing it to other towns and other cities that are looking to address some of these issues. Stowe, DEP working closely with Lake Boone Association to track source of PFAS contamination. In Maynard, the town was recently awarded a $2.3 million grant to address emerging contaminants, including PFAS in its water supply. This is made possible by the Biden administration's bipartisan infrastructure law and administered through the U.S. EPA and Mass DEP. It's critical that we honor and support these efforts with adequate funding so that we do not fall behind in our cleanup efforts. The Mass PFAS Act establishes a PFAS remediation trust fund to assist municipalities, public water systems, and homeowners with the high cost of cleanup of existing PFAS contamination. We can build upon the efforts passed last year and continue supporting and protecting our firefighters. The Mass PFAS Act contains provisions to limit and phase out the use of PFAS in foam and directs the Department of Public Health to collect and report data related to occupational exposure to PFAS, which is critically important. In addition to protecting our firefighters and establishing the remediation trust fund, the bill specifies ways we can continue our support and build upon the work that's underway. Directing Mass DEP to regulate biosolids based on the results of its study, which will be published in the coming month, and direct the agency to undertake a study on ambient air emissions, which is sort of the evolution of dealing with PFAS contamination. These efforts, combined with our ongoing actions, will help lay a strong foundation for mitigating PFAS contamination in Massachusetts and contribute to our overarching goals of protecting the health and safety of our residents, all of which is occurring amidst a new federal dynamic where we cannot count necessarily on the federal government to lead. and in fact may need to combat the negative effects of the current administration. I appreciate your time, I appreciate your attention to this matter, and respectfully request favorable report from the committee. Thank you all very much. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Senator Sear.
Thank you, Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, members of the committee. I'm so honored to be here to join my friend, my colleague, Speaker Pro Tem Kate Hogan, who has been a champion of us addressing PFAS challenges in Massachusetts. We have teamed up several years ago, and you heard of our efforts, first in a task force to develop this omnibus legislation, then to file this legislation. The committee last session, under very able leadership from Chair Decker and some guy from Cape Cod, worked on this bill extensively, advanced it out of committee, not on an extension. It was advanced out of healthcare financing. The bills that we have refiled that are before you, largely reflect the committee's work. This is a complex issue, a complex bill to work on, and so I'm very grateful to the members of the committee and your work last session and this. Really, this is about Massachusetts taking crucial steps to cut off the spigot of PFAS contamination and clean up the PFAS that's already present in our environments. You heard from Chair Hogan of the challenges in her district. We too in the Cape and Islands have found PFAS present in drinking water, the risk of PFAS in our food packaging, consumer products, also in a whole host of novel areas as well. So action is urgently needed by Massachusetts. We're 11 other states have taken action here. So really hopeful that, this is the session where we can get this collaborative effort over the finish line. I want to thank a myriad of stakeholders who have worked hand in glove with Speaker Pro Tem Hogan and myself to advance the legislation. We are delighted to answer any questions, and we request a prompt and swift release of the bill so we can get this to the floor in the Senate and in the House as soon as possible. Thank you so much for the time, and thank you for obliging this hybrid panel of in-person and virtual.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. Any questions from committee members? Thanks for being here on our first hybrid panel and of the session, and appreciate all your work on this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, I'll call Aaron Toffler. Aaron, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairs Driscoll and Decker and honorable committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to support H2369, S1548, an act to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution. My name is Aaron Toffler, and I'm the Executive Director of the Massport Community Advisory Committee, or MCAC. The MCAC is a legislatively created body comprised of representatives from 35 communities impacted by Massport's operations. Our committee represents communities from Worcester to Braintree, from Chelsea and Revere to Quincy and Lexington, and all the neighborhoods of Boston. We represent approximately 25% of the population of the Commonwealth. Our mission is to serve as the voice of those communities in trying to mitigate the impacts created by Massport's operations and to provide oversight to the Massachusetts Port Authority. In recent years, the MCAC has focused largely on air quality and the impacts of all aspects of transportation thereon, including surface, maritime, and aviation. We currently have air sensors measuring ultrafine particulate matter at several locations in the environmental justice communities which surround Logan Airport. The readings that we are seeing from these monitors are well above what the World Health Organization considers healthy. We also participate in a state-led working group to mitigate the impacts of air quality from Logan Airport. We believe that air pollution, especially ultrafine particulate pollution, must be addressed more fully by the state. We're grateful to the DEP, which has 4 air quality monitors deployed across the Commonwealth to address this issue, though that is not sufficient for the scale of the problem. Massport's operations impose air quality impacts on all our member communities, particularly those near to Logan Airport like Winthrop, Chelsea, Somerville, and East Boston, who experience not only aircraft emissions at low altitudes, but also congestion from roadways that bring upwards of 40 million passengers to Logan each year. To date, we have not fully measured these impacts. Ultrafine particles and black carbon are perhaps the most problematic of these pollutants. Evidence suggests that because of their small size, they easily enter the body and are linked to a variety of health problems, including childhood asthma, slowed lung function in children and teenagers, worsening of COPD in adults, and greater likelihood of getting lung cancer. Health data from communities close to Logan bear this out. To make progress on these and other health issues affecting communities impacted by aviation operations, we must measure ultrafine particulate matter and other pollutants and develop measures to mitigate their negative health effects. This bill takes the first step in achieving this goal by creating an advisory committee and establishing baseline air quality standards. It is a step towards environmental justice for these near-in communities who have borne the brunt of transportation health impacts for decades. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this important bill, and particularly to each of the sponsors of this legislation in addressing air qualities in our communities.
Great. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amy Shea, or Ami Shea. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, members of the committee, and staff for the opportunity to share my testimony with you. My name is Amy Shea, and I'm President and CEO of the Health Foundation of Central Massachusetts. I'm here to express my support for several bills aimed at protecting residents from harmful PFAS, also known as forever chemicals. They are an Act to Protect Massachusetts Public Health from PFAS, H. 2450 S. 1504, filed by Representative Hogan and Senator Sear, and an Act relative to chemicals in food packaging, S. 1588, filed by Senator Moore. PFAS is the new lead or asbestos, chemicals once celebrated for their utility and now understood to be serious threats to health. Our understanding of PFAS and its negative health impacts continues to grow. But without action, we continue to be exposed to this class of chemicals, and PFAS continues to accumulate in our bodies and our environment. At a New England Council event last Friday, Congressman Auchincloss spoke about the importance of addressing PFAS at its source, when it is concentrated and localized, not waiting until it is already embedded in our environment and everyday products, not waiting until it is spread diffusely in our municipal water supplies and needs to be remediated at the parts per trillion level. He also highlighted the importance of state action. We are seeing a weakening of protections at the federal level. The EPA is rolling back PFAS regulations, and we are not immune to these changes that will reduce important public health protections. But we are Massachusetts, and we can take action and lead in this time of federal inaction. Just last week, Governor Healy announced several actions the state is taking to protect vaccine access in Massachusetts. Similarly, the legislature can take action and demonstrate our state's leadership when it comes to protecting public health from the harms of PFAS. These bills offer important multi-pronged ways to do so, and I respectfully ask that you report these bills favorably out of committee. I also ask that special attention be paid to segments of the population that are often overlooked and under-resourced when it comes to PFAS. Specifically, there are 500,000 Massachusetts residents who rely on private wells, which are unregulated at the federal and state levels. Mass DEP sampled nearly 1,700 private wells across the state and found that about 15% exceeded the state's drinking water standards for public water systems. While not being considered by this committee, I wanted to bring to your attention a complementary bill, an act protecting drinking water quality in private wells, H. 900 S. 585, in hopes that you can be supportive at the appropriate time. Together, these bills send a powerful statement about how our Commonwealth intends to lead when it comes to protecting public health en masse from this threat of PFAS. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Kendra Beaver. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Driscoll, Chair Decker, and members of the Joint Committee for hearing my testimony today. My name is Kendra Beaver, and I am the Director of Climate Justice at the Fairmount Indigo CDC Collaborative. I am here to express our strong support for H2369 S1548, an act to ensure cleaner air for communities overburdened by outdoor air pollution. The Fairmount Indigo CDC Collaborative, or FICC, is made up of 3 nonprofit community development corporations in Boston: Codman Square NDC, Dorchester Bay EDC, and Southwest Boston CDC. We serve the Boston neighborhoods united by the Fairmount commuter rail line, Dorchester, Hyde Park, Mattapan, and Roxbury, and our mission is to advance climate justice and health equity in the communities that we serve, also known as the Fairmount Corridor. The Fairmount Corridor is entirely a state-defined environmental justice community and is made up of primarily low to moderate income people and people of color. Environmental justice communities like ours are most often overburdened by environmental harms like air pollutants. This reality is reflected in both the lived experiences of the Fairmount Corridor residents that we work with and the local air pollution data for our service area. Air pollution was our residents' #1 concern in the results of our winter 2024 through 2025 resident survey, likely because the Fairmount Corridor is plagued by some of the worst air quality in the city of Boston. Nearby high pollution transportation corridors, including the diesel-fueled Fairmount line, contribute to our neighborhood's ranking in the 84th to 97th percentile for particulate matter 2.5 pollution levels. This environmental burden manifests in devastating health outcomes. Residents from Dorchester and Roxbury experience the city's highest asthma rates, with the area between Blue Hill Avenue Station and Upham's Corner Station of the Fairmount line recording the highest asthma incidences citywide. Further, the asthma emergency department visit rate is higher in Dorchester, Mattapan, and Roxbury than the city's average. Despite FICC's efforts to support the improvement of our local air quality, like by hosting air purifier workshops, building high-quality affordable housing, and sharing resources with residents, we know it's not enough to solve the poor air quality problem our residents endure every day. We also know we're not alone in this experience, and it is therefore crucial that the legislature act to enact policies like these outdoor air quality bills that will help our friends, neighbors, and families across the state breathe easier. We respectfully request your support and favorable report of this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Next, I'm going to go to Lisa King. Lisa? No. John Shinholser? John? And while John comes up, I just want to, we're at time, so we're going to hear testimony from the handful of folks left in the room. If you're online virtually, I'd ask you to please submit testimony to jointcommittee.publichealth@malegislature.gov and can also be sent to my legislative director, Matthew Murphy, at matthew.murphy@masenate.gov. Sorry we weren't able to get to everyone online today. We just had so many people sign up for our hearing time. So, Mr. Shinholser.
Thank you so much. I'm John Shinholser. I'm the Advocacy Director for American Veterans for Kratom Safe. And I'm glad you got to me because I drove up from Virginia to give testimony, so that was good.
Welcome.
You know, I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, 4 years in the infantry. I deployed 3 times. I was a paint contractor for 30 years, wallpaper hanger. I spent the last 20 years, I'm a founder, me and my wife, of a nonprofit recovery center in Virginia. It's a national model. You can Google it. You'll see all the wonderful work we've done. I've dealt with thousands of addicts and alcoholics. I found recovery in 1982. I just celebrated 43 years clean and sober. So, you know, and I've worked my recovery every day. When I ran across Kratom in our recovery center, I really saw it as a benefit and a plus for the people because they were using it as a tool, a harm reduction tool and a pivot tool. Anytime you can pivot from a one-pill kills to a, manufactured product that uses the FDA regulatory guidelines, to me that's a win. And then a couple years ago, Johns Hopkins, they're doing a clinical trial right now. I'm 67, so because of my chronic pain and all the other physical conditions I have, I'm the only 1 out of 10 people in my family that doesn't have joint replacements, multiple ones. So I participated in that clinical trial using Kratom. I took a gram 4 times a day for 9 months. It solved my pain problems and it did give me a boost in energy. I'm one of those Energizer bunnies when you see me go at it in the yard. And then I went, overnight detox, no problems, none of the things I see associated with it. But what I've come to conclude, addiction's a mental illness. I got a mental illness. I get that. I treat the illness and the substances go away. And I realized that there's a group of Americans that they use Kratom for appropriate reasons. That's their pain medication. Millions of Americans, they don't abuse it. They use it as directed. They don't have a problem. And then there's a class of addiction folks that they use it and they get addicted to it and they abuse it. Only 3%, very small profile. So I want to be able to travel in my retirement and go state to state. And if I want to take Kratom, I want to be able to have access to it and not be criminalized. I don't think I should be a felon for using a plant product. And I don't think we should let a population that knowingly and willingly abuses the product against their detriment, start making decisions based on them. But what we really need is the regulations. We've got 18 states, I think, have regulated. Virginia, we regulated it. Regulated states don't have a problem you got here. You got a lot of terrible products out there. And I'm not going to call names, but, I saw one up in here today. Proper regulation solves all the problems that we're having with Kratom right now. And a lot of these products aren't even Kratom. They're engineered chemical products. So, I know y'all going to do the right thing. And anyway, time's up. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for sharing your perspective. Any questions from the committee? Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Safe travels.
We have a name on this. Is it Jean? Jen? Jean or Jen? Yes, please. Thank you. Sorry.
He wrote my name.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. I know we're over time. My name is Jennifer Mercier. I was born and raised in Massachusetts. I'm now a resident of your neighboring state, New Hampshire. I'm a mother, a small business owner, and a holistic mentor. I came to Kratom after several emergency surgeries and a diagnosis of endometriosis, among others, that left me in debilitating pain. I was not able or willing to rely on pharmaceuticals, and Kratom gave me the safe and effective way to manage my health when needed, while still being present for my family and my work. So the proposal to ban Kratom in Bill S-1558 is deeply concerning to me. It's seemingly based in incomplete data, along with, in some cases, very misleading data. Banning the natural leaf while acknowledging that synthetic compounds, lack of education, and proper regulation is the real problem. So it would be both inappropriate and harmful to your residents if that bill was to move forward. Instead, I urge you to support Bill S-1609, which regulates Kratom. This kind of legislation is the balanced approach we need. Other states, like John had mentioned, I think he said there was 18 of them, a couple to speak of are Georgia, Utah, and Texas, have adopted the Kratom Consumer Protection Act to ensure safe access while preventing misuse. Massachusetts, I would really encourage you to do the same. The FDA has realistically already done the heavy lifting for all states. They recently came out with a statement saying that they are removing the potentially dangerous lookalikes and synthetics from the shelves. They are moving forward with that and moving forward very quickly. They're specifically stating that they're not interested in removing the pure natural leaf Kratom and recognize its medicinal value. Many experts have testified over and over again on behalf of Kratom's benefits. My favorite, Dr. Toxicologist Marilyn Hustis, she's testified so many times about the presumed Kratom deaths and how they are overwhelmingly linked to other drugs, contaminated products, not pure or responsibly used Kratom. Dr. Christopher McCurdy, a leading pharmacologist, has shown that Kratom's alkaloids provide pain relief without respiratory depression that harms so many with other pharmaceuticals. Dr. Kirsten Smith, research demonstrates its potential to reduce cravings and withdrawals in those recovering from addiction. Even the World Health Organization, they have a 64-page peer-reviewed study that said that they found no evidence that it causes death on its own. Instead, they recommend continued research and responsible regulation and not prohibition. It's not just about me, it's about the thousands of constituents and your residents, people who need safe, natural alternatives to manage their health and mental health issues. A ban would drive Kratom into the unregulated shadows, creating more danger, not less. Regulation, education, and access are the paths forward. So today, I respectfully and strongly oppose S-1558, and I urge you to support 1609. This is the path that protects public health while preserving a vital tool to your residents. I appreciate your time and for considering the science, testimonies, and the real human lives at stake.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Adrienne Allen. Adrienne Allen. Kimberly Cushman.
to speak. My name is Kimberly Cushman. I'm a resident of Boston, and I'm here to testify in support of S922, an act relative to a Bean New Deal. I'm speaking as a scientist and also a constituent who's gravely concerned about the trajectory of our current food system. The Bean New Deal is about more than just making plant-based options available. We can see it as a powerful first step toward ushering in a food system that is healthier and safer, being more plant-based. You've already heard about the dietary health benefits of plant-based food from nutrition experts, so I'll focus on the environmental health benefits, including sustainability and reduced risks of pandemics and antibiotic resistance. Firstly, there's overwhelming evidence of the environmental harm caused by meat and dairy production, with animal agriculture accounting for 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions and being a leading cause of biodiversity loss through land use, deforestation, and pollution. The United Nations Sixth Assessment on Climate Change, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, and the United Nations Environmental Program all recognize that reducing animal product consumption is a key lever in addressing the climate and biodiversity crises we face globally. These global crises represent the greatest threat to public health, especially in developing countries. With Americans having among the highest rates of meat consumption per capita, Massachusetts has a responsibility to be a leader in promoting plant-based foods, with the Bean New Deal being a powerful first step. The current levels of animal product consumption also represent a significant public health threat due to the risk of new pandemics and antibiotic resistance coming out of factory farms. The current reality of our food system is that over 95% of meat and dairy and eggs in the United States come out of factory farms, where animals are cramped and kept in unclean conditions, living among their own feces and dead bodies of other animals who die from disease, suffocation, broken bones, organ failure, and caused by selective breeding and growth hormones. Given these conditions, it's not surprising that we constantly see the resurgence of bird flu. Every year we roll the dice in factory farms that will not be, hoping that they will not bring about the next pandemic, whether bird flu, swine flu, mad cow disease, or something new. Due to the obvious risk to animal health, farmers regularly feed antibiotics to their animals as a preventative measure. Globally, 3/4 of all medically important antibiotics are fed to farmed animals. As you've heard today, medical professionals are concerned about overprescribing antibiotics to their patients, but our biggest risk is from farming animals. The more antibiotics, the greater risk of antibiotic resistance. You may be thinking that these problems with animal farming are unrelated to the Bean New Deal. While I welcome the introduction of legislation that would improve conditions on factory farms, the only scalable and realistic solution is to shift away from the consumption of animal products and towards plant-based foods. We simply do not have the land or resources to raise this many animals in a quote-unquote natural way without devastating biodiversity even further. Therefore, we must shift toward plant-based food systems. I strongly support the Bean New Deal as a crucial first step, and I hope that my testimony has impacted on this committee that promoting plant-based food is a public health imperative.
Thank you. Any questions from committee? Thank you very much. It's tough to read the handwriting on this one. Lau Smith, is there a Smith in the room? Dylan Smith, there we go. Thank you. Sorry. That's all right. Welcome.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Smith. I'm a New England resident, a father, and an advocate for natural health and medicine. My wife grew up in Massachusetts, and we spend time here weekly and care about the state and the people that live in it. Before discovering whole leaf kratom powder, I dealt with a host of debilitating health issues. In 2018, I was diagnosed with neuroborreliosis, an infection of the brain and nervous system from the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. After suffering from a host of debilitating symptoms that completely upended my life for over 10 years. Before kratom and other natural herbs came into my life, my daily reality was crippling pain, fatigue, anxiety, depression, insomnia, and digestive distress. My condition became so severe that in 2018, I was hospitalized for over a month and shortly after, finally received a diagnosis. My health had declined to the point I was put on disability and for several years was unable to support myself. And while most people never return to work after going on disability, I recently have, in largest part due to kratom's role in helping manage my complex health issues. This has allowed me to contribute to our family and community in ways that would have otherwise not been possible. In 2016, I entered recovery from alcohol and prescription pills I was using to manage my symptoms and began detoxing off several pharmaceuticals, including benzodiazepines like Xanax and Klonopin, and stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin. I was legally prescribed these to manage my symptoms, but their effect on me was highly detrimental. I'm extremely familiar with the concept of sobriety, what it means to be sober versus not. With a background in addiction, I'm acutely aware of when something plays a medicinal role in my life and when something is destructive. No other substance has ever been more medicinal and helpful in my 15 years of treatment as Kratom leaf has been. It supports my recovery process, just like many other people across the country, and has a massive positive impact on my mental health and discomfort levels without getting me intoxicated or inebriated, something that is so important to me. It is because of Kratom's ability to take the place of high-profit pharmaceuticals and be used as an exit substance that is so heavily demonized. It is actually because of how beneficial it is that we see calls for bans across the country. It's so beneficial that it cuts into the profits of the pharmaceutical companies who heavily lobby and influence our government. This is a classic case of profits over people, just like we saw with cannabis over the last 10 years. Massachusetts has already become a leader in the alternative and plant medicine space, allowing their people to choose what treatments and medicine work best for them, despite pushback from Big Pharma. Why now would we go in the opposite direction? It is in fact the same people who helped to create the opiate crisis who continue to profit off the dependency and addiction that they caused, who see Kratom leaf as a threat to their revolving door of profit, pain management, and rehabilitation. They are the ones calling for these bans. The stakes couldn't be higher for me personally. If I lost access to Kratom leaf powder, it would massively impact my ability to be a father and community member that I am today. It would mean returning to a life of pain, instability, and suffering, taking away the single most effective tool I have to manage my physical and mental health. Revelation 22:2. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. This is the tree we're likely talking about. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Peter Moyer? Peter? All right. Michael Cargman? Is there a Michael? Keenan? Welcome. Sorry, you could let me know how to say your last name. I'm not going to try. Okay. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Kenan Osmanagic, and I am testifying in support of 922, the Bean New Deal. I'm a Boston resident. I live in Dorchester, and I study at Northeastern University. This bill is the first step towards Massachusetts' journey towards an equitable and ethical food system. The U.S. has the highest meat consumption rate per capita in the world, and the highest obesity rate in the world as well. And that's no coincidence, but I'm actually not here to talk about health. Of all the mammals on the earth, and I'm just talking about the mammals, not the birds, fish, bugs, or anything else, just 16% of mammals are humans. That leaves 84% as wild animals in the forest, right? Well, unfortunately, only 4% of mammals on Earth are wild animals. That leaves 80% of mammals on the Earth as livestock, confined, unable to move, never to have the experience of a warm, sunny day or freedom at all. Every year, trillions of these animals are killed for food. Often, we don't even have a choice not to support this violence. I remember in high school, I went to Norwell High School in the South Shore. If I wanted a vegan lunch, I would have had to eat dry lettuce and an orange. The Bean New Deal allows the people of Massachusetts to have the choice to be nonviolent. It allows the people to at least have the choice to not kill animals. In a country where animal farming is destroying our health, the environment, and the lives of trillions of animals who don't deserve to die, the Bean New Deal is the best possible first step towards a food system that doesn't rely on this violence. Senate 922, I urge you to adopt this bill as is. This is an accessibility issue. You know, we want to allow people to choose the foods that they feel comfortable with eating. Humanity no longer needs to kill animals to survive. In fact, our survival depends on not taking the lives of these innocent, gentle creatures. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Is there anyone in the room here that signed up and we missed testifying? Yes. Okay. Welcome to join right now. Yeah, just come up and introduce yourself and the bill you're here to testify on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I'm here to speak today and offer strong testimony in support of an act to protect Massachusetts public health from PFAS, H2450, S1504. My name is Lori Sutherland Nearing. I live in Ayer, Massachusetts. I'm speaking to you on behalf of Ayer, my small town of 8,400 residents. We have been directly impacted by PFAS, which was discovered in both of our town wells at opposite ends of town. The wells are not hydrologically connected, and they have different sources of contamination. As a town of only 9.2 square miles, that's about 3 by 3, there are no options for alternative water sources. In 2016, we were pretty devastated to learn about this news, a weird chemical, something called PFAS. It had traveled in the groundwater from the former Fort Devens. For many prior years, AIR had been addressing numerous other contamination issues resulting from our neighbor at Fort Devens, which is a Superfund site. In 2018, I remember how proud I was that our town voted unanimously to support the construction of the treatment plant at a cost to taxpayers of $4.4 million. With strong leadership from a very proactive DPW superintendent, AIR was among the first communities in Massachusetts to do so. Because of their use of AFFF, the U.S. Army did end up covering the cost of the construction. In this way, AIR was fortunate. However, when PFAS was also discovered in the town's second water source, taxpayers were burdened with the cost of construction of $6.2 million. Today, AIR's treated water is PFAS-free, which of course is wonderful, but there are additional annual expenses. The two treatment plants use different technologies, GAC at one, ion exchange at the other, complicating their management. Both locations, the lifespan of the filter media is much shorter than what our DPW had anticipated. The replacement cost for filter media last year were nearly $400,000, and these costs, of course, increase every year. Additional costs for waste disposal and energy add to that. We must consider what happens to this spent media. Just like the water cycle I learned about in 3rd grade, once PFAS are made, these chemicals get into our water and food cycle and they just keep cycling forever. Really, the solution is to turn off the tap, and that's what this bill will do. It's crystal clear that what needs to happen is there's really only one solution. We need to stop making the stuff. Filtering our drinking water is essential, yes, but that's a Band-Aid, not a solution. This bill will stop the pollution at its source. I urge you to work with us. We will work with you to get this bill passed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. And last but not least, yes, please. Oh, it's one more. Okay. Welcome.
My name is Candace Edwards, and I'm a mother of a special needs child, and like many parents, I have witnessed firsthand the harm that synthetic food dyes can cause. When my child consumes red dye, his autistic behaviors worsen. He loses calm, regulation, and focus, let alone his ability to learn. Through trial and error, I discovered the link. Once we removed the dyes, the change was undeniable. When I mentioned this to his ABA center and his doctors, they were not surprised. They acknowledged that dyes as a common disruptor for children, but just because it is common, it does not mean that it should be accepted. And this doesn't just affect children with special needs. Neurotypical children too can struggle when exposed to harmful dyes. A simple bowl of Fruit Loops before school can set children up for failure, creating challenges for teachers and classmates alike. I also bring a global perspective. I grew up in the United Kingdom, where global brand staples are made with vegetable-based colorings. I was shocked to find the same products are reformulated in the US with synthetic dyes. What children in the UK can enjoy without disruption, children here consume with chemicals that impair learning and behavior, and that should shock us all. And that is why I support an act prohibiting harmful food dyes in competitive school foods. It simply ensures that during the school day, competitive foods are free from harmful dyes. We already regulate calories, sugar, sodium, and fat in these foods, and if we care enough to regulate those, it is common sense to also regulate chemicals that directly interfere with a child's ability to sit still, focus, and learn. And I should also add that multiple states have also passed this legislation. I also want to testify on the PFAS bills and also O'Day's bill for the IV bags, because I am a breast cancer patient. And I can tell you firsthand that cancer is devastating, and it has taken so much from me, including my breasts. It is traumatizing, costly, and sadly no longer rare. While we are making important advancements in treatment, the reality is that there are too many cases and people should never have to face this disease in the first place. Some of these diagnoses could have been prevented if we'd acted sooner to limit harmful exposures. At the Tufts Breast Health Center, where I continue treatment, I have watched patient number grow, including in men. Providers have explained how exposures like PFAS and other toxic chemicals are contributing to the crisis. Each year, I'm invited to speak to Tufts medical students about living with cancer and the lifestyle changes I've made in response to the growing evidence on stress and environmental exposures. Even the next generations of doctors is being trained to understand that prevention is essential, but education alone is not enough, and we need action from you. Right here in Newton, the Silent Spring Institute has identified 189 chemicals in food packaging materials that scientific studies have linked to breast cancer. These exposures are not harmless. They are putting both adults and children at risk, and in too many cases, they are deadly. Whether it's synthetic food dyes, PFAS, the theme is the same: preventable harm. Please move these bills forward. I also just want to make one other comment to the gentleman that brought up about the cookware. Cancer is expensive. My treatment alone was $40,000 a month without insurance. And when he made that statement, it just infuriated me. And I want to say on the record that the greatest expense of toxic products isn't financial, it's measured by the lives that are lost. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? No.
Ooh, that was long. Just so long.
Be our last Melly, sorry. Yeah. Sorry we missed you. Yeah, if you could just introduce yourself and then the bills you're testifying on.
For sure. Bringing it home.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm Claire Carl Miller. I'm with Unitarian Universalist Mass Action. I'm testifying in support of the Environmental Justice Bill on Outdoor Air Quality, H 2369, S 1548, and I will make it super short. I have 3 quick points. Number 1 is just to notice that we are all breathing air right now. On average, we breathe 20,000 breaths a day, and the quality of that air really impacts our life. Secondly, unfortunately, Massachusetts is still very segregated. I organize congregations of Unitarian Universalists. I'm a white middle-class person.
I wonder if they're
Many
gonna
of our
like announce
congregations,
anything, or
most
are they
of
just
them
gonna go to
are in
recess?
white middle-class communities. And the air that I and they breathe is mostly better.
Probably just go to
than for
recess.
people of color and low-income communities. And unfortunately, that means that our lives are longer. Like, we're literally living longer, higher, like, healthier lives. And that, to me, is a moral, ethical problem. And it's not okay. And part of the reason I love this bill is that it takes a moral, ethical problem and makes a data-driven science and plan. In particular, so there's the data monitoring, there's the identifying of the hotspots, and then there's the goal setting. So the bill says after the hotspots have been identified, let's look out years ahead and plan backwards to identify and bring these dirty hotspots into clean air. And that to me is like so satisfying from a policy point of view, to look at something that is so incredibly important and say, let's plan backwards. So that's all I want to say, and thank you so much for sticking through this long hearing. Really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Thank you for bringing us home at the end. This is going to conclude today's Joint Public Health Committee hearing. I want to make sure I recognize Representative Sousa as well, who joined us a while ago, and I apologize for not recognizing you earlier. I apologize to those who were unable to provide testimony virtually today. If you are unable to, or in person or virtual, if you want to expand upon your comments, you can email jointcommittee.publichealth@malegislature.gov, and my legislative director, Matthew Murphy, matthew.murphy@masenate.gov with your testimony. This concludes our hearing. Will now be adjourned. Thank you.
Wow.
Well.
That was long.
That was so damn long. Like, if y'all haven't been here, we've been live for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
And how many people did we see speak? So we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people?
5. I think, yeah, 5.
Jen Mercier and Dylan Smith did amazing. John Shinholser did amazing. The
Yeah.
guy from the what bar was he from? Was it Kava Culture?
I think that's what he said.
And then you had the heart guy, whatever.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, like I said, at least they showed up this time.
at least they showed up. Didn't see no 7OH advocates in
Oh, and
attendance.
that other lady, there was that one lady.
Oh yeah, the other Jennifer. See, I know so many damn Jennifers.
I thought that was crazy. I thought they were going to say my name. And then I was like, oh. So, yeah, I guess there were 6 then? 6 people?
So, so there's 2 email addresses. So if you haven't submitted your email, I guess after the live stream is over, Jennifer, put the email in your Facebook link or in the comment section.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
And I'll head over to my YouTube and put that in the comments too. There's 2 different emails. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. There was a lot of people online though. There was like 30-something people. I don't know if they were there for it. Was crazy. Why was it so disorganized?
It's like they would call a bill and then still allow people to they should have just called all the people that had to test that were there to testify virtually, because there was no bill talk from the people. You know what I'm saying?
It was like they did the Kratom part and then they bounced back to the PFAS stuff, which I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I freaking learned a lot.
Scary. Like when you start really diving down into that stuff, it's scary.
Yeah, and like I said, it's crazy to think that we're mixing our Kratom with possible PFAS.
Yeah.
Forever chemical stuff. Because I toss and wash mine with orange juice, or I will use or mix it with orange juice, and to know that that's probably in those plastic bottles. Hey,
It's I feel like it's everywhere. It's probably in everything. And I feel like maybe it's just so many years of recycling.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but
it makes me not want to recycle.
Yeah. It's you can only stretch something so far.
So Alicia says, watch the movie Dark Waters. Let me go see.
Dark Waters. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, because I know my son was talking about when he was in some kind of class last year, he was talking about, I guess it's it's in people's DNA, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing a TikTok about that a while back, but it's something that, only didn't really fall down that rabbit hole.
And that red dye 40, y'all, that's even in my freaking stool softener. Why does it need to be in stool softeners?
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? And when you buy the dye-free stuff, it's 3 times higher. Why do they make it like that?
Alicia says it's even in our clothes.
Yeah.
It's in everything we are exposed to. Wow. It's all about DuPont?
DuPont.
The hell is that? She said, hell, I can't spell.
DuPont? The company? Y'all know what I'm talking about? It was a vacuum company or something. Oh, everything. Oh, I just realized I was still sharing this. Yeah, DuPont. Dude, these corporations, though, for real. All these big corporations, it's scary. The stuff they get away with and have been getting away with for so long.
Oh, I'm reading about Dark Water. So the movie details the true story of an environmental attorney, Rob Bilott, and his fight against chemical company DuPont for polluting communities with PFAS, leading to a widespread health issues in the town of Parkersburg, West Virginia, and raising global awareness about PFAS contamination and health risks. It is freaking crazy to
Yeah.
me.
That's what I'm saying. Like they have gotten away and still get away with so much. And people act like you're a conspiracy theorist when you try and talk about it.
Typical.
I wore my Kratom Saves t-shirt today, even though I didn't get to testify.
I got mine. Kratom saved my life. Looks good on you, girl.
Whatever you do, don't do anything. I've heard about the Teflon thing too. I guess it like flaking off. You know, they used to have Teflon in everything, all the pots and pans or whatever.
Well, I know that we switched our pots and pans to granite. So hopefully that's better.
I've heard ceramic is better too.
Or maybe ceramic. Maybe it was ceramic, not granite.
I need to do that. I ain't even gonna lie, because I'm probably using freaking Teflon. It's scary though. I mean, it's scary. I want to put the least amount of chemicals in my body that I have to in my lifetime.
Right. I mean, it's just crazy. It's everywhere, clothes and makeup. Cast iron. Are you talking about using a cast iron pan? Or are you saying that
it's probably, or should we, because I know, man, my granny used the shit out of some cast iron.
My mama did. Man, that was a long hearing.
Yeah. At least they let the people, cast iron's the best.
Yeah, at least they let the people in person, get up there and speak. Dylan and Jen, man, they freaking kill it every single time.
Every time.
And John Shinholser, he already knows it. He drove up there.
Yeah. Dude, he's been all over the place lately.
Yeah. So, I mean, we attend a lot of behind-the-scenes Board of Health meetings that pop off in Massachusetts, and just this week we watched 3 of them. We attended one. Anytime there's a Zoom link available, we're going to attend it.
Yeah. And it's always like a mixed nuts, you know what I'm saying? Some are good, some are bad, some are, it's just like you can't ever tell.
Yep.
But I don't know. Who knows how that will go? Who knows when they'll. But I mean, the shut off is what, today at 4 p.m., I think they said? I think it was 4.
For the emails?
Yeah.
Was it today or 9/11? Dang, that's tomorrow. Every time 9/11 comes around, I remember the exact moment.
I do too.
Of what I was doing when the plane.
I remember I was putting my oldest son, like I was off of work that day, and he had just woke up, and I was going in his bedroom, and I turned it on PBS because back then there wasn't like internet. And I remember it was on there, and I was like, "Oh, look at this stupid something." Somebody, you know what I mean? I had no idea what it was, but I remember just completely dismissing it.
I remember, so I had my second daughter. She was pretty much like, she was like 3 months old, and I was getting my other daughter ready for preschool, and I remember, it blaring on the TV, and we literally watched the second plane hit in real time. And I remember calling the preschool. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, do we still bring the kid? Do I bring my daughter to school? Like, what the hell's going on? So they were like, yeah, school's still in session. But I remember later on that day, it was quiet. Like there was no planes flying anywhere. I remember it being silent, and it was just such an eerie feeling.
It was just crazy because it's like, you don't think about something that like that happening here in the United States. And like, I remember I dismissed it, turned the TV off because I was tired of looking at it. And then like I worked for AT&T, the call center at the time, and they're calling us in because it's like overwhelmed. The call center is like overwhelmed. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll come in for, overtime. And
Yeah.
that's when it hit me, like how serious everything was. I was like, oh my God, like I've just been dismissing this all day, just chilling with my kid at home.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know.
But I think you said, I don't know how to go verify that.
I was looking at my email because I know the Microsoft Teams thing, I thought said it. I don't see it on here.
I've been up since early.
Trying to look. Let me see if it's on.
I mean, I would just tell people to get it done today.
Yeah. Because it just says, oh God, tomorrow morning. We welcome your written testimony in addition or in lieu of oral testimony. Please advise all written testimony submitted will be read by committee members. Yeah, I just say get it done today.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can find it somewhere. I'd say, let's say, try and do it by 4 p.m. today. Because I don't know when their next thing is. But yeah, I'll put that in the 2 emails in the comments.
Look at you over there tapping away.
Dude, I think it's crazy when I see people like actually type, like they're supposed to, you're supposed to have your fingers in the circle. I just peck. I'm like, dude, it hadn't failed me yet. Oh. All right. Well, I'm going to put this in the comments. So if anybody's watching this, just go look in the comments. You can copy and paste them, boys.
Yep. Copy and paste them email. Don't forget to put a comma. You're going to put both emails?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget to put the comma after one email. Because that way that way people can just copy and paste the comment and put it in the BCC or just, email blast.
Yeah. Always forget that. All right. I just added it though.
If you're on here, you did amazing.
Yes. Yes. I'm glad y'all came in person too. Y'all always do an amazing job. You and Dylan are freaking rock stars.
Yep. Tell Dylan he did amazing too, because I'm not on Facebook, so I can't go tag him.
Yeah. But I mean, I know that's a trip for y'all, so thank you for going. You're much appreciated.
Okay, that one and this one. No, wait.
Sorry.
No, y'all watching advocacy in action.
All right. Oh, I should say regarding 1609 regulation and Senate Bill 1558 opposing the ban bill.
So support 1609, oppose 1558.
Yeah.
Support S 1609. They were both S bills, right?
Yeah.
They're chilling in the park, letting Willow run. Oh, how cute!
Oh, she would. Oh my gosh, she's such a good. She's sitting there that whole time. Holy shit! Holy crap! Yeah, y'all are some freaking troopers, man.
Mm-hmm.
She deserves to run.
So they're gonna send your testimonies to. I'm just gonna say send them today.
All right, regulation and impose. All right. She has fun running around the building while we take turns. You know, that's so cool though. One day she's like, man, I remember my mom and dad, you know, they used to go and freaking use their voices. That's what I'm saying.
Oh
Yeah, they
yeah.
need to see.
I mean, I saw some familiar faces that were online, and then some were just like unknown numbers or something like that. So there was probably about.
It was over like 30 people.
Yeah, there
in
was
the very
over 30
beginning.
people on there. But, you know, some were for the PFAS stuff, some were for the air stuff. And what was the other one? Like a bean bill or I don't know.
Oh yeah, the bean deal or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. But I know, like I said, I noticed some familiar faces that were or numbers, names on there. But the other ones, I don't know. Okay, you ready to wrap it up?
Yeah. All right, everybody. See y'all next time. Thanks again, Jen and Dylan.
Yeah.
Y'all be safe driving back home.
Yep. Y'all be safe.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.